Welcome to the AV Experience. I'm your host, Ryan, joined as always by our Kea, Jonathan Von England. See, I remember your name. That was just
You
a
looked
fluke
at
last
it.
time. I just whatever. And Bob, I don't even remember your last name. No, Bob Dooley. So Bob joined me at CEDIA, and by join I mean he cruised the streets and I was stuck running booths. So we will get into what he saw. I was able to see some things, and Jonathan abandoned us. He just said, I'm not going. I think AV is dumb and I want nothing to do with it.
I'm sure.
That is exactly what
I'm
happened.
sure exactly that's how it went.
Those words came out of your mouth. That is what happened. I invited him. I said, I will get you a ticket. And he goes, no, I don't even like AV. I don't.
I think all of this is fraudulent.
Okay. Well, how have you guys been? Bob, we'll start with you. How are you? You were gone, but when you weren't gone, how were you?
I've been good. I mean, life's been busy. My kids are doing a whole bunch of sports. I'm coaching most of them.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's
I've
5
seen you in
teams
action
right now.
coaching. Your team played our team a couple weeks ago. You got sunburned, so you've been outside. I've been stuck in buildings all day for the past over a week. We'll get into that. But Jonathan, how have you been?
Good. But one of us is cutting out. Either it's you or me. Are you,
no.
Bob, who are you seeing cut out?
Am I cutting out?
I'm not
Ryan's
seeing either,
real
so I don't know if
jerky.
it's me.
Am I herky jerky? I don't think I'm herky jerky. Chat, am I herky
Ryan,
jerky?
you're herky jerky. What about me?
No, you guys both look fine.
I think it's just, see, Jonathan's making stuff up again.
No,
Yes,
really not.
he's calling me a fraud, and he's over here just making stuff up.
I had a good time. I went camping while you guys were at CEDIA.
Oh,
Hot
I
Springs
was
National
camping
Park
in a
in
hotel.
Arkansas. It was awesome.
It does sound cool.
I highly recommend that place. But not to distract with that commentary, I'd like to hear about CEDIA, fellas.
Well, I think we can jump into that. Where do you want to start? Jonathan, I'm going to let you kind of lead this conversation because we were there, but I want you to kind of lead it as somebody that wants to know different things.
Sure.
Right? So you're outside looking in, kind of
not to put me on the spot or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll start with a PM message I got from one of our regular show attendees.
Yeah.
He mentioned, how was CEDIA different this year than last year? Was there anything new and exciting on the table? And is there anything like in next year's show that you would really like to see that you can see like a glimmer of and suspect could be really cool for a future innovation?
So last year, okay, CEDIA kind of goes like any industry, it ebbs and flows. So a lot of manufacturers are not updating things every year. It's in cycles. So if most people think about this with projectors, okay, so projectors are updated typically every 3 years. Now we're probably going to start seeing things longer than that, I would imagine, but it's historically been every 3 years. And AVRs, it's kind of around that. I mean, every 3 to 5 years we get a new version. So it's
new flagships, and then they trickle down.
Yeah, sure. That's a good observation. So there's always this ebb and flow of busyness. This year was, at least for the sound rooms, it was a lot more of the big stuff, right? So we saw things at CEDIA that we haven't historically seen, which mainly was Christie, right? Christie has a history of, they're kind of the big news that everybody was talking about, right? So Christie has this history, and I'm not picking on Christie. I'm just saying what's happened in the past. About 10 years ago, they said, we're all into residential. Like, we're going. And they showed up at CEDIA. They had a huge booth in the middle of CEDIA, and then nothing happened. So this year...
Wait, stop there. What do you mean nothing happened?
They didn't come into residential. Like, they didn't make a big push. Yes, you could get projectors like the Griffin and the M4K and stuff, but there wasn't a push into residential. This year, and up in the past couple years, there has been a growing, tide that is now starting to come over the embankment. They haven't just dumped everything in 1 year and come out of nowhere. It has been this buildup that we've been getting to. And we finally had Christie at the show again. So when I was at CEDIA in 22, there was an Eclipse there, but it wasn't there with Christie. It was there with a dealer. I don't think anybody from Christie was there. I may be mistaken. Maybe one or two guys were there. But I never talked to them. It was mainly in a distributor dealer's booth. This year, they were everywhere. They were in probably 4 sound rooms, if I remember correctly. They had a presence in one of the distributors' booths. They had multiple LED walls. They had multiple static displays. So they had an Eclipse in a booth and on static display.
It's huge.
They brought a lot of staff. So it was really good to be able to talk to them. They were interacting with the dealers and really showcasing and explaining and sharing what Christie is about. And it was a really transparent conversation that they have. They recognize the history of what they've done in the past. And I think they're trying to approach it slowly now so that they can show some ROIs, because that's what these companies need, right? They're doing these big booths. They're coming to CEDIA because they need a return on that investment, right? CEDIA is about vendors talking to effectively the sellers, the dealers, the integrators, the endpoints, and building those relationships that they'll sell their wares. So Christie needs, and all of the companies that were there need an ROI. So this is not a, vendor showing to consumer show. This is a vendor showing to a dealer or place of sale show. There are some end users that go, but it is mainly dealers. Like I'd say 95%, 98% of the people that are there are dealers. They're not end users. So this year I'm going to say a lot more about the high end. It doesn't mean that there wasn't any mid-level or low-level stuff, but there was a lot more ultra high-end level stuff. And we'll get into some of that stuff because that's really what I saw, because that was over where I was. I was helping run Ascendo's booth and Storm's booth, so I didn't really get a lot of time to go see things. If I saw something, it was because something was blowing up in that room when we were building it and setting up CEDIA, and I had to be there to try and fix it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get to see and demo this while I'm trying to fix it. Yeah, that's great. So I got to do that. But Bob, when we get to him, he saw a lot more than I did. So I am actually excited to talk to him about what he saw, because he's Bob and he took notes. So it's not just going to be going from what he remembers. He took notes. So it's fantastic.
So a couple questions on Christie while we're there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You said that they're making video walls and so forth. Are they kind of behind the scenes in a lot of the commercial type industry in that sector? Or are they rebadging things with that tech, with the video wall tech?
You mean, are they buying from somebody else?
Yeah. Are they one of the big players behind the scenes for the video wall things as well?
I don't know that Christie sells their stuff. They manufacture all of their own stuff. Their video walls are manufactured in North America. So they're not like some of the other vendors. They're not buying and white labeling something. They are manufacturing it from the ground up, and they have some super cool stuff with their LED walls. They have 2 levels. One is more, I'll call it entry level, but one is very expensive.
Are these prices on these things like stratosphere type level?
I mean, there's one that is a 0.75 pixel pitch, which is already very tight. It's designed for commercial. It can be curved. It can go around corners. I mean, it is a commercial display, and it is gorgeous. It is a measured, like you shot it with a Spectro, measured 2,000 nits. And it is a 0.75 pixel pitch, but for a 135-inch 16:9 wall, it's $500,000. So it is, along with like GMS, they're expensive, but they're very well built. They represent the pinnacle of the technology, and they had a cheaper one. Bob may know the price point on that one. I don't. But that expensive one, she was pretty. She was very pretty.
I have pictures.
Yeah.
So Bob, from your standpoint there, kind of going not as a vendor, but just going as a person, did they have pricing out there and first and forefront, or did you have to be a dealer to see pricing on these new tech type things?
It depended on booth to booth. I mean, some of the booths did have MSRP listed on the product tag sitting next to their price, next to their object. All the staff would give you information. Everyone I met there was incredibly friendly. They're open, they're helpful. Just it was a great experience. I mean, I'd been to plenty of trade shows in the past, just for different industries. I'd never been to this one. So it was just like going to one for the first time, not really knowing what to expect, the layout of everything. I missed a few things that I just didn't know were like tucked in a corner somewhere or inside of a booth that I just happened to walk around as I was going back and forth to something else. Just, there was a lot to take in, and I was there for 2 days. The first day I spent doing basically sound rooms. The second day was a little bit of sound rooms and then just trying to wander around and see what I could see. But it's really cool just because it's not just some audio side, but it's all the other integration stuff. It's switches, it's control panels, it's smart lighting, it's outdoor speakers, it's all the smart home living space stuff.
There's a lot.
Which
it's funny when you go to the CEDIA Awards, which we did this year, most of it is about that aforementioned stuff that Bob mentioned, is your lighting, your control. Most of the industry is that.
Yes.
We think it's all like the video and the sexy stuff and the things that we find fun. That is not the bread and butter of the industry. The bread and butter of the industry is the smart home stuff.
Yep. It's integrated audio. It's distributed audio. It's hidden audio, ways to manipulate a space to make it more appealing for different living environments. And it's really cool stuff. And like, I was kind of torn there because it was like, I wanted to go look at this stuff, but knowing you're on a time limit and not having like all the full time. I mean, I'm looking at something and I'm like, I want to see more about this, but I got to catch a flight in, 4 hours and I'm only halfway across the floor.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of really neat things to see there, especially if you're interested in that stuff. And even if you don't think you are, seeing it in person and just seeing what some of the concepts and tech out there can start doing and how you can apply it is a really neat experience.
Yeah. Yep. Good points.
So is a lot of the stuff that you're seeing there as you kind of walk through the floor, is a lot of it prototype stuff, or is it things that have already been on the shelf, so they're just trying to make their awareness of, or what kind of
most of it's commercially available stuff. There's a few things here and there that will be a product coming out, in 2 months or in 6 months, or, hey, we're going to have this out next year. There's a few, prototype things, or here's things that are in development or that we want to kind of do, but most everything is readily available. And they make a big point when they talk about stuff about how this is in warehouses, this is ready to ship, because if you come in there as an integrator and you want this product and someone wants to take this, to a customer and tell them, hey, here's this really neat, cool thing I see that I think would work great in your space. They say, great, well, when can I get it? And they say, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
It's a really tough sell on that point. So
there's not a lot of prototypes. Most of the new stuff, if it is new, is a product announcement that was just released, and they use CD as a platform to get it out there.
Right. So, I mean, like, for example, Paradigm had a pair of in-wall speakers, which I can talk about a little bit later, but or behind-wall speakers that
the Invisibles.
The Invisibles, which were actually really cool.
More and more manufacturers are doing those.
Yep. We can probably talk about that later, so however we want to figure that out. But that was a neat little thing, and they weren't going to bring theirs, but they were going to do a little sound room, and they decided to bring them and show them because they're not out yet. But it was their kind of like soft announcement on the upcoming product.
Like Chernoff with their AES 67 AOIP stuff, Ascendo with their Halo speakers. There's just new stuff. Christie with Vader, right?
Yes.
We kind of heard about that in the past, but this was the official, hey, we're here. It's coming. We're at a consumer kind of residential show, not commercial. It's coming. So
it was the first time Vader had been shown
anywhere for residential. It was at CinemaCon. So I had already seen it, but it was very limited in being able to see it. This was the first time it was seen on content, from my awareness in the public. But
were they using real world content like 4K movies, Kaleidoscape, that kind of thing?
Yes,
and it's awesome.
About that. We'll talk about that.
Demo reels.
Yes, we will talk about that.
How about rooms and so forth? You said you spent the first day kind of looking at audio rooms, Bob. Were they like, I know like the Christie room was like a full encompassed showroom.
There were
Bob got to see what we do.
Yeah. There were a good number of them where there's 7 on one side and 2 on the other. But a lot of the individual vendors actually had them inside their display areas too. So there, for example, the JBL had a booth that I think was bigger than the Ascendo booth or sound room.
JBL takes that one everywhere. That one goes to ISE. That is their room that they
right. And it's inside their area. And so that was the kind of the problem, is that I didn't figure out that those were there until like a little bit too late. And so I'm going around like walking around these places that I skipped, like, oh, here's this demo room that I didn't know was there.
They're hidden.
They're hidden. And like, if you didn't see a sign, or like I missed the Massimo one because I didn't see it.
The floor is loud enough, like out on the show floor, that you can't even really hear the theaters as they're going on. There are some that you can really feel the bass, but when you get far enough away, you can't. So it can be really difficult to just pass right by one that's not in the sound room section.
SVS's was open top.
Okay, some of them, not some of them.
That one you could tell was there, but yeah, it was kind of cool. I mean, and that was, like I said, I just missed a couple because I'd like walked through the booth and not realized that this wall display there was actually the side wall of something that had an entrance around the corner.
Well, now you know.
Yes.
So there's no floor map, like a directory or anything, like a lot of the shows.
There's a floor map and a directory, but it doesn't necessarily tell you like what's in that booth and what's on display.
It doesn't tell you if a vendor has a sound room.
Right.
So the sound rooms that we built, like that I was helping build for, how long was I out there before the show started? Saturday, Sunday, Monday,
out there
Tuesday,
like a
Wednesday,
week.
5 days. So I was out there 5 days before the show started. They're called sound rooms.
Right.
Like they are on the map as sound rooms. That is what they are. And there's several of them. They're on the main show floor, and there's some down in the like
high-end audio demo hallway area thing. Yes.
So the map though just shows the sound rooms, like they're called SR 1 through 12. And then you have, if the vendor has a space out on the main showroom, that space is called the vendor. Yep. So you don't know if it's a vendor booth, like a part of the show floor, if they have a sound room. Most of the big players, like if you look at Martin Logan or Paradigm, I think Paradigm was with Martin Logan. They just did a Paradigm.
No, Martin Logan wasn't there. Martin Logan was in with JVC.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So, and then you have SVS. They had one. JBL always has one. Sony has one, if you know where to find it, for their.
It was really cool too
and stuff, and their video walls, and so they're there. They just don't advertise them. You got to go talk to somebody, and then usually that person will say, "Hey, have you been through the demo?" And then you go listen to it or see it.
Crix did have a demo.
Go ahead and answer that one, Bob. You said what?
I said Crix did have a demo, and I did go to it. Yeah.
Is now a good time to kind of talk through those demo rooms since we're on this topic?
Whichever way you want to go. You want to start with projector side?
Let's do that. Go ahead, Bob. Let's talk through the demo rooms, the sound rooms.
Okay, I guess we'll start with the Ascendo one because it's the first one I went to. Okay. And it was probably the worst choice for me to go to first. And this will be an interesting way to phrase this. It was the worst one for me to go to first because I had a really high expectation of what was in there. Because I'm very familiar with the kind of equipment that's in there, because that's basically, Ryan's theater. It's not that different from what Ryan has in his setup, and Ryan's setup is very well constructed. The room is very well sound treated. Everything is very well tuned. And while everyone at these shows did an amazing job for what they did with the time they had, it's not the same as a permanent install that's been calibrated and tweaked over months and months and months to get to a certain point.
Well, before you go any further, let me explain to people what the sound rooms actually are. Because when we get in there on Saturday, they're empty shells, like the actual sound rooms. The guys that are like JBL is an example. They have their own stuff. They do whatever they want, but they're similar to these because remember, they have to be easy to transport. They have to be easy to move by a person. They have to be easy to install, and then they have to be easy to mount things to.
Yep.
It's all about ease.
Yeah.
So you can't take one of my panels in my theater and move it. One of my panels weighs like 400 pounds. These things are not. The joke we make is every wall is made effectively out of cardboard. And then you put acoustic treatment on top of it, right? So you've got like a 1/2 inch in the sound rooms. I don't know what JBL does. This is just what we call SR rooms. So SR 1 through 12. The sound rooms are like a piece of wood, very thin wood, to allow screws and stuff to have something to mount to. It's usually hollow, so you have two sides of mounting substrate. And then on top of the inside part, you have about a 1/2 inch of acoustic treatment. And that 1/2 inch is everywhere. Every surface on the inside of the room is covered in it. So it is a uniform, high-frequency broadband absorber.
It's like the Owens Corning Select sound stuff.
And it's really only absorbing high frequencies above a certain range. Does nothing for bass, does nothing for your mids. It's all high frequency. Okay, so they're not fantastic, but they provide a good foundation to do what we're trying to do. So that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is when we're building these, very limited on the amount of time. While we can tear down a room, like when I was tearing down the room on Saturday after the show ended at 3. We had an entire sound room torn down and in boxes in 6 hours, ready to go, palletized, ready to ship out. Sound room was empty. We were done. It was good to go. 6 hours. It took us 5 days to build and get some level of calibration done, because you got to measure, you got to mount. There's tons of people working at the same time. You have to run all of the cables. You're having to do all of this stuff. And then you're having to do audio and video calibrations, make sure all of the demo stuff works, make sure everybody knows what's going on. And that all takes time.
Yep.
And things invariably, if anybody's been to setting up expos or shows, things go wrong. Like there's no way around it. Things go wrong. So people need to go in, and dealers do for a lot of it, because we've been to these shows a lot. The people that go to these know it's an expo room. So you have to go in with the idea that this is an expo room. So is it good at for an expo standard?
Right.
Because there is limitations on what we could do. Like for bass, for the Ascendo room, you've got 2 64-inch subwoofers in the back. And then you had 16 18s. So there's a ton of firepower, but you can't pressurize the room because it just goes away.
Not
right?
sealed.
There's no way to keep it
It's sealed-ish, but the room is flexible.
It's so thin and flexible, you cannot pressurize it.
Right.
So you run into issues where people will come in with like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing, because I've heard this, and it's not to the level that they expect, because it's an expo room.
Right.
And for audio specifically, video you can get away with a bit easier, but there are still some limitations. But I just want to put that out there, because people need to understand that there's only so much that we can do, and we can calibrate, and we do calibrate the video and audio, but you're still rushed, right? Because you're still trying to install stuff while you're calibrating. And a lot of times, like there was one time we were calibrating, the Ascendo room didn't finish calibrating until 5:30 in the morning the day before the show. So
the first year at M-Wave, we didn't finish calibrating until 3 hours into the show.
I know.
So, this is
the reason that I make that point is because we're all tired.
Oh yeah.
People make mistakes. And so there needs to be this expectation that, we're just trying to showcase what we can.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a perfect installation. So if it's good for a show setting, it's probably going to be a lot better when you get it into a home.
Right. And that's kind of like, and that was that mistake I made the first time, going into it with expectations based upon knowing the type of equipment that's going to be in there. Yeah. And it showed well. I mean, I'm not saying this was bad. I'm just saying, like, I've heard this particular stuff do better.
This was your first one to CEDIA, so
it was the first one to CEDIA, and I was the first person in line for that room right after they got it working.
And it was hot.
It was very hot the first time.
Turned up, because the other thing that happens is day one. Usually after day one, when we've been in there all day listening to things, we then go back and make changes, because it gives us time to familiarize what's going on, what are the limitations, what needs changed, what's running too hot, is the SPL good, what are we running into? So the calibration changed after Bob went through it.
And that's why I wanted to get back to in this one, because I bookended the Ascendo room. That was my first room and my last room before I went to the airport.
Was it different when you heard it the second time?
Very much. And I'll get into that. So when I went to that room, I mean, it's a better than Ryan's Christie projector. So I mean, like I already
I
base
would
level
hope
of, like,
so.
I had a base level of like what to expect there. But again, like
What projector was it?
It was the Eclipse in that particular room. So I mean, this is not like this is some joke of a projector. I mean, this was a incredible projector. This was incredible equipment. The bass, you're just, it's moving you almost. That it was so hot that first day.
Yeah.
And because it was so hot, it was a little bit out of balance. If you got out of your chair and slid forward, the middle row was kind of like a bass mode in the first day. So if you slid forward about a foot, it actually became really good. And I liked it a lot. But the bass was insane. I've got pictures. I don't know what's a good way to do that. Do I?
You can go at the bottom there, and you should have a share screen function.
Okay. Let's see. That might work. Okay. So here's the Ascendo room. This is the little thing outside. This is the first thing you see when you walk in, and you're just, oh my God, what is this? There are two now 64s in the back of the room. And like I said, having done this at M-Wave multiple years and set up these rooms in very short time, the amount of work that these guys did in these rooms is just unbelievable. Everything looked incredible. The room was beautiful. It was just a really neat room just from the second you went in. I love the fact that they didn't try to hide the speakers in the back. Like, it really showed them off, and it was visually striking.
You feel like you could be in a home theater when you go into these rooms. Now,
I was going to say, this looks a lot like your room, Ryan. It's like they...
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. Like
the
amount of work that these guys did on these rooms is just unbelievable. They look incredible.
I mean, like the projector shooting through port glass. The speakers are actually mounted. Now, we had to use like velvet tape to cover things, but there's a lot. We're sitting, the chairs are on risers. This room had, I think, 3 rows. All of the chairs, these are the Movias. They're IP controlled. So at the end of the session, they all go back to the native position where they all the footrests go back in. They have home position. So you had a screen with masking that was going up and down. The screen was dropping at the end of the session. It was going up so that you could see the halos behind it. There's lighting everywhere. And it's just, that's why they take so long, because you're starting with nothing.
Yep.
And then you're ending up with this. And then on Saturday, when the show ends and everybody goes home, all of the vendors, we have to take it all apart. And then it gets shipped out. We have to box it, and then they come in with forklifts palletized, and it all leaves. So it's by Sunday night, the showroom's empty. Like, the whole show floor is pretty much empty. Very fast.
But yeah, the bass in this was just insane. And then Ryan, you probably might know who.
Acoustic panels are done by Simplified.
Okay. It was probably on that previous one anyway. Yeah, Simplified Acoustics in the bottom corner. Yeah. Okay. So we watched Into the Spider-Verse. We watched F1 in that one the first day. I don't
think F1 was in that.
It was Ratatouille. Into the Spider-Verse. Interstellar. There was a music clip from the Eagles.
I think that was it.
Maybe one more. I can't remember if there was that.
The demo was about 15 minutes, so I think that was it. And then we changed it on day 2.
Day 2, I liked the demo clips a little bit better. But I mean, it was a Seymour Screens. It was the first time they'd done a retractable acoustic screen.
It was really good.
New material that looked amazing, and it had a really neat effect. So I mean, those are the side panels of the rooms. And you see, like the level of detail on these is spectacular. There's the ceiling, and you kind of see how well they tried to hide cables up on the side with the gaffer's tape and everything.
Bunch of diffusers everywhere, huh?
Yeah.
Well, you got to do something in order to provide sound reflection away from that absorbative material, so that it's not
overly damped and dead in the highs.
Yeah, it gets really bad.
That you might see someone there working on a technical issue, but that was
There's
the only
Chris.
picture I had in the front.
That's Chris Seymour, the guy in the white shirt.
No, that's Jeffrey.
Oh, it is Jeffrey. I can't tell. That is Jeffrey.
There's Jeffrey.
What size was that screen? I didn't hear
Ryan's
you say
over here. That was a How big was that?
So that screen, I think, was about 12 feet wide.
It's
And what kind of nit count are they trying to get on that with that Christie? Like what's
350.
This one was 350.
Yeah. So this, if you look at where the screen is, you can see that image in the middle. That was part of that clip at the end. On the side, there were retractable, acoustically transparent masking panels that would roll down in individual scenes. And the Eclipse was so black in some of those scenes, you could barely see the masking panels drop down.
I heard that from somebody in one of the forum threads.
It was really cool. I mean, it was just, I mean, I'm not saying it's like OLED black, but it's like a natural black, because OLED black is not something that exists in real life either. Because,
well, I mean, theoretically, if you did put it into a fully non-reflective room,
potentially, yes.
but
But I mean,
better, but you have even on the black walls that are black, it's still reflective. So
right.
you're damaging your
reflecting light
contrast.
Yeah. Right. And I was wearing a white shirt the first day, like half the people were. So I mean, like everyone
Did you get
goes
booed out of there?
Huh?
Did you get booed out of there with your white shirt?
I looked at that as I'm sitting there like, oh wait, this is not the right thing to be wearing today.
Should have handed out like black ponchos. To
right.
people.
I didn't have my velvet poncho or blanket to throw on top.
Poncho.
But I mean, it was really cool. Interstellar looked amazing in that room. I mean, just how dark the starfield was, how good everything looked.
It's one of those where you're watching the clips, and until you get to Interstellar, you kind of forget that you're watching an eclipse. And then Interstellar comes on, and you immediately remember that you're watching an eclipse for a very good reason, because the starfield is amazing.
Ratatouille, I will say Ratatouille and Spider-Verse, I don't know if we're the best demo choices for the Eclipse, because they didn't really show off what it could do.
We were limited on clip selection.
Okay.
Based on the Kaleidoscape. So we did the best that we could with that, but we were limited.
And I'll get back into the Spider-Verse. But I mean, it was just a really cool experience. And then in the end, they roll the screen up and you get to see, the stacks of subwoofers behind it, the LCRs back there. And it's a really cool finish to the demo. I mean, just the whole demo in the room was really well done.
Yeah. Chris Seymour is the guy in there that starts it, kind of explains everything, and then does everything at the end. He does a really good job of being the MC for that room. But those are the halos. Brian Kopp were the masking panel, Seymour retro mask. I believe if they weren't, they're very similar to what they were, and they do a very good job. I think these masking panels are built into that that retractable screen.
I would assume so, yes, because they can only mask top to bottom on that retractable. They don't mask side to side. But there were some that were four-way masking, but not on that particular one.
They're very similar in how they worked, and they worked really well.
Yes. Let's see. Where's the Ascendo stuff?
I specifically heard on one of the threads that kind of made me chuckle. Somebody said that Seymour was trying to kind of show off his masking panel, but nobody could even see it in operation. So it wasn't the best.
So in the first demo, you could see it when the screen was a little brighter.
You can see it moving and stuff, so you get the idea. But
like when you saw it go in, like you could tell the difference. It made it look a little bit more black up front and kind of frame the image a little bit better. But it wasn't night and day. It's not like when we're throwing any of our projectors on there and you just see, oh, like there goes those gray bars, and now all of a sudden the image looks so much better and my contrast looks better. It was hard to see as much on this one.
Sure.
The Ascendo stuff is that gonna? No, it's not gonna do that. How do I?
You need to share your screen instead of a program.
Yes, I do.
Technical difficulties.
Let me do that instead.
Super chat from Planet Hulk. I'll throw that up there while Bob's doing it. So $2 USD. Thank you very much, Planet Hulk. Much appreciated. Never expected. Will there be another M-Wave? If so, when? So I am currently talking to my vendors. And I'm talking to my vendors because I need to ask them how much they would hate me about a date. There's a thing called the World Cup that gets in the way of next year. Right? It's smack dab in the middle of the summer. And it causes a lot of problems for hotels because we're expecting in Kansas City an influx of about 1 million people. So there's no hotel availability in the summer.
Anywhere.
Like all the way out through Wichita. So
wait a minute. It wasn't on the same weekend as the World Cup, was it?
Not.
You were thinking?
It's before, but I still can't get hotels. It's all booked
Well,
up. I
These
can't
people are coming in early for events and trying to
get
reserve
'em.
space. Yeah.
So the only date that I've got right now is, and I'm talking to my vendors. This is not official yet because I'm still talking to people about it, trying to make sure if it's going to work. Let me make sure I've got the right date. Is the weekend of Friday the 18th through Sunday the 20th of September. And the reason that is because outside of those dates in the World Cup, I could do it in August, but the date for August is right between Audio Advice and CEDIA, and it's closer to CEDIA. So this one is 2 weeks after CEDIA. And I've gotten blessings from most of my vendors. So as of right now, we're looking at the 3rd week of September is where we're at.
So just a outside thought. If they were finishing CEDIA or getting ready to go to CEDIA and your thing was like a back-to-back weekend, would that make their life easier because they could just ship to
Yeah,
M-Wave?
it helps with sometimes with equipment, but it can also make it more complicated because shipping gets really complicated with sending different things, and the things that are going to M-Wave probably aren't exactly what would be at CEDIA. And then it's mainly a problem for my overseas vendors because it's a lot more flight time close in. So I just try and take care of them because I recognize that, hey, these guys are people. I don't want to really push them to where they're exhausted. They don't want to do the show, but I think we'll make it happen. But tentatively, that's tentative right now. I'm not promising that's when it's going to happen because everybody that I asked looked at me like I was crazy, but they said, Ryan, for you, I think we can make it happen because M-Wave was a really, really cool event. So I'm hopeful.
That's wild. Reading what Jedi 1982 says in there. That's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I didn't think it'd be a problem, but it was.
All right. I think I fixed it now.
Okay.
And guys, we're getting some chat comments in here that are kind of off topic from CEDIA. We'll address those at the end. We're not like forgetting you. We're just starring them.
We're getting there. Jonathan and I are starring them.
I can't share that myself. Someone has to click the button.
I don't see a button.
Yeah, nothing's popped up, Bob.
Did it not work?
No.
It's showing me on the side.
Nope.
Oh, there it is.
I never got it.
I can't. Yeah.
It never popped like it did the first time, but it was an add to stage option.
Okay. So this is the Ascendo's little demo wall of the things that they had. There's a picture of the Halo speaker.
I never saw this wall.
It was right across from where you were sitting.
I never around the corner. Okay.
So this was on the opposite wall from the Black Swans. I'll show a picture of those in a second too. But I mean this is kind of a little highlight of the speakers they had. This was they had the 10s in the room, I think is what was in there. Which are a good speaker. They had but they had these things up there in front, and that was what they were really highlighting. There's a better picture with the finish they put on these things.
How big are those drivers?
It's a 8-inch around the side, and then it's a 10-inch coax in the middle with the same compression driver that's used in the Black Swan in the center of the 10-inch coax. And there's a better picture of the coax.
So they are not small.
No. So I mean that's an 8-inch driver, a 10-inch coax, and another 8-inch driver on the other side.
Yep.
So but they're very thin. They're only 10 inches deep or something like that.
I'd call it like a foot. They're big, and they weigh a lot. They're super cool. I don't believe these were beryllium.
They might not have had the beryllium diaphragm in them because they are having
beryllium.
It's very difficult to get anything in beryllium right now.
Yes.
I tried to get some beryllium driver speakers for some stuff I'm working on, and I was told by the manufacturer that I could buy them now and be put on the wait list, and I could potentially expect delivery in 2.5 years.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh man.
So it's very hard to get beryllium.
And the reason for that is because there's very, very few manufacturers that create the beryllium that would be needed for these speakers.
And by very few, it's one.
It's one.
And that one sells almost all their beryllium to different industries. And the industry, or their side business that does the thin sheet for beryllium speaker drivers, is a very, very minuscule portion of their business model, and they don't really care that much about it.
Yeah,
which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they had these set up on the other side, and that's the side you see, including the Christie video wall right there. This is the bigger one they had.
Yep.
Again, they had that same finish on these Black Swans, and it just looks,
carbon. Man, they look good.
it looks so good in person.
They're not ugly anymore.
What is that material? Is it like a bowling ball? Like
it's a flake
carbon.
Yeah. So it's carbon.
So take carbon fiber, and they do it.
Sort of enamel?
The lay is different, and you can get it in cars and for different pieces and stuff too. Like this, it's a different weave kind of thing, and it's a different process for how they do it. But they were gorgeous.
It's more kind of just pressed.
They're also
like,
forged
yeah,
carbon as well.
It looks.
And it has some reflective quality because you can see like the blue carpet on the side of it, like a mirror finish almost.
Yes, it's a shine finish on those.
They were pretty.
Meant to be hidden on those particular ones.
Now, Jonathan, you had a question on these. You had a PM or somebody ask about.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I got a PM where somebody said that they thought the Black Swans were kind of like missing a step at the show. They didn't produce as well as he expected.
So the Black Swans, as far as I understood, that were out there, I don't think were calibrated.
I doubt they were.
I don't think they were, and they really need it. But this is another instance of people being so tight on time that you have to pick and choose your battles on what you do. So the primary expose there that was being showcased was the Christie video wall. Those Black Swans were there as really kind of static, but they were there just to reinforce what was on the video wall. Same with the 28s.
Yeah. So on the other side of that one, they had the Christie projectors that were out there. And so you can see some of their lens options, some of their smaller ones. The large one right here is the MK15, I believe is what it is.
M4K. Yep.
M4K 25. Sorry, that's a 25. But you can see the size of that projector. It's the same size as the 15. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's smaller than the Griffin.
Considerably. Yeah.
By a lot. And then there's the Eclipse, that's a good sized table that it's sitting on. So that's not a small unit.
410 pounds, not including the chiller.
Yeah.
So the chiller's a separate unit. She big.
It's definitely not a small unit at all.
No.
Here's the very beautiful video wall over there. They were just displaying AI art on it, and it looked gorgeous. It was a very pretty wall.
Gorgeous is an understatement for how good that looked.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noted of it, for how good that looked, there was no heat.
It was very cool. And unlike some of the other ones, which I'll mention later. But I mean, there's a close-up of that video wall. Very tight on that one. But just like every one of the other ones, if you're looking through something else, there are slight sync delays between all those panels.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you take pictures of them and you're up close, you can definitely see sync issues. I mean, not issues, but you can see.
And you can calibrate that. This again is all rushed. So it's
right.
You spend enough time, that can be fixed. It's just, this is a show issue that comes up because you're limited on what can be done, what can be corrected. And if you're just showing static art, it's kind of one of those,
but there's
not to worry about that.
This is that same picture right there, the same area with the next piece of art. And like, you can't, I mean, you can kind of see it if you look really closely, because you know that it's right there, and you step back a foot or two and you miss it. That's a different booth. So after that, I went down to the Alcon's room. For one specific reason, because right there,
Vader
was down there. And so saw the Eclipse, and then basically the commercial version of the Griffin, which was the Cinelife 4425.
4425. Yeah.
4425. It's the 25K Griffin, more or less. They produced the Cinelife series for commercial, and then they did the Griffin series for residential or permanent install. But this was the same room on the other side. And you got to see Vader for the first time. This was Pose Acoustics did this room. So they had some panels. I wish I had taken a picture of the panel and the screen layout, but I didn't. Everything was kind of hidden in this room, so it was a lot harder to see. Each one of those panels on the side here were the panels that he put together. So it's this kind of same thing. I don't remember what that is. That the good panel?
I don't know.
I think is what they call that thing. But that was here. There was an absorptive piece here. I think one of these was here, another absorptive piece here. But these were kind of built-in units wrapped in these dynamic LEDs that would change color and chase each other around the space. It was kind of a neat effect. And then as you tuned it out, they'd start collapsing into themselves until they'd eventually disappear. It looked very pretty and kind of gave a nice ambience in the room. There's the Alcon speakers right there on the sides and the walls. They had 4 18-inch subs in this room.
They had 8.
Well, sorry, 2 per corner, 8 total in the room.
Yeah, but it was waveforming, so only the fronts were active. Correct.
So it was a Trinov waveforming room. So in this room they did Ratatouille. I think they did Ratatouille again. No, it wasn't Ratatouille. They did, but they did Into the Spider-Verse again.
Yes.
And the Into the Spider-Verse was a little bit.
I didn't like that clip for this.
I honestly thought it had more pop when I watched it, and I was kind of more impressed by it the first time. And the reason I found out was because they were running this room at 570 nits. So it looked more impressive in this room because it was twice as bright. And then I found that out afterwards because I was talking to the Christie engineer and some of the other guys. But this room was running significantly hotter on the projector. But Vader was awesome. They did this cinema clip from Cinema Society or whoever that is.
It was the DCI clip. Yeah,
it was a DCI clip. But it's this, woman archaeologist in a cave tapping a brush for some reason at a wall and then pulling out some gadget and she's got a flashlight and pulling out something and scanning it and some AI, some floating interface pops up. But I mean, it was really just to show off how dark content looked because the whole scene was darkened in a cave, but there was also a bright flashlight that was highlighting the view. And they turned Vader on and off as this clip was showing. And you could really see the difference on how it was modulating the power of the unit, because not only the overspill light just went away as it dropped the main power, but it didn't really hurt the perceived brightness of the flashlight, but it brought forward the color of, like, the purple color of her clothing. It brought forth a lot of the detail in the face, in the rocks and everything else in a major way.
Did they have the power meter on?
No, the power meter wasn't on. I wish that had been. Hold
on, let me explain the power meter. So the power meter, what they can do when they do these Vader demos is on the right side of the screen in the black, there'll be a black bar because it's 3840 by 2160 clip and the projector is 4096 by 2160. So in the black bar, they put a power meter, and this power meter shows the contrast or what Vader's doing and the power level of what they're actually doing to the laser. So when Vader is moving, you can see everything moving, and it's just a cool reference to have when this is actually taking place. And you wouldn't think that it would make that big of a difference, and you wouldn't think that it would be that different than normal laser dimming, but oh boy, is it different, because it's keeping all of the colors the same, but your blacks are getting blacker, and it's mind-blowing. That DCI clip, when they're turning it on and off, it was a huge difference.
Mm. They did a clip from Ghostbusters Afterlife in there. The first one of the Ecto one, before you realize it's Egon, like driving away with the trap in the front seat, which was a good clip. And it showed the improvement in the black floor after having seen a Griffin a lot in the past too. Vader was a big improvement on that projector. I mean, the blacks
look measured. Did they tell you what it measured?
No.
So I think, from what I understand, it measured somewhere.
Oh, and you mean the 60,000 to 1 contrast?
Yeah. So that projector normally does about 5,000 to 1 native contrast, and it was doing somewhere between 55 and 60,000 native.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they did mention that
with Vader.
That'd be dynamic, wouldn't it, rather than native? Or are you really saying native?
I guess it would.
It would be more.
It'd be more dynamic.
Unlike some of the other dynamic algorithms, including the one on JVC and the ones we see in Epson and some of the other projectors we've had, that I saw no downsides to this. I mean, there was no
That's
pumping, nothing.
fantastic.
It just looked beautiful. No color shifts. I mean, everything about it was
What
amazing.
they're doing is I don't know exactly how it works, but how I think it's been explained to me, it's almost like light steering.
No, it's all software based, and they're clipping highlights,
I
but they're
know,
doing
but
a much
it's
better.
software based, but they're able to do something with how the mirrors and the lasers work. And that's how they're able to do things like keep colors a certain brightness and dim the blacks. At least that's how it was explained to me at CinemaCon. Because at CinemaCon, they had one side they had projectors where it didn't have Vader, and the other side did. And they would have them calibrated to identical levels, and then they would have a block of color on there. They didn't show any demo clips at CinemaCon, but they had a block of color. And then they would turn on Vader on one of them, and the black floor would drop, but the color would stay the exact same luminance. Like it wouldn't dim, but your black floor would go down. So they're doing something. I don't know what they're doing, but it's not like other laser dimming algorithms or however they're making it happen. It's mainly meant for commercial, and the commercial guys don't care about the contrast increase. They don't care. It's all about cost savings. But residential side, all about it.
So a question in that regard, and why I said this was fantastic, is because that kind of stuff has been tried before by various folk, and a lot of times that gamma shifting, as it is, affects the color. But you say specifically you did not see any downside to it, which is
I didn't see any downside
wild and excellent.
No,
everything just looked better.
Christie has technology like this in their video walls too, where if you lower the power of the video wall to bring the brightness down, typically you'll have a white point shift, right? It'll move. They have the ability to, as you dim, keep the white point consistent. So
they must be doing the modification to make it look consistent.
Yes,
right?
they are
because
in that sense, but they're doing a lot of stuff objectively to make it unnoticeable what they're doing. I don't know exactly what they're doing. All I know is it was all net positive. I couldn't take away a negative from what was going on with this.
So some of that type of technology specifically sometimes shifts like subtitle colors. It'll be go from white to yellow would be an example. Did you happen to see any subtitles on the screen, Bob?
There were not. So that's one of those ones I didn't get to see, and they didn't do the Vader on-off option on that, so I didn't get to see how that would affect it.
Did you see our demo for dynamic subtitle optimization?
No, I
for Matt VR.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick because you brought up colors. So that was something that we showed with Mad VR, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I just think this is super cool. So dynamic subtitle optimization, right? Mad VR historically, if subtitles are on screen on a CinemaScope screen, what happens if you don't have a Mad VR?
They're cut off and run off the
down. They're off the screen. So Mad VR allows you to bring back black bars so you can see them. Well, that's great, but it's compromised because you're making the image smaller. You're bringing back black bars.
And it's jumping around.
They're jumping around. So dynamic subtitle optimization, Envy is now able to see them, cut them, and move them into the image. So it's able to now manipulate subtitles. And you brought up color, and this is why it made me think of it. Because now not only are we manipulating subtitles and moving them, we're also able to manipulate the APL of the subtitles. Because when we're talking about laser dimming and all of these dynamic algorithms, a lot of times the subtitles are the brightest thing on the screen, and it directly affects dimming. Well, Envy now has the ability to tie the brightness or the APL of the subtitles to the APL of the scene that is being displayed. So as the scene changes, like if the scene's really bright, APL of the subtitles goes up. Scene's really dark, APL of the subtitles goes down. So it's able to match what you see on the screen. And then it's also able to, I didn't realize how big of a deal this was until I saw it. It's able to match the color gamut of a given frame or scene into the subtitles. So if the primary color of a scene is red or some shade of red, it brings that into the subtitles. And now that I'm used to watching it that way, normal white subtitles are insanely annoying now that I've gotten to see what this thing can do. And then it's also able to manipulate the size of said subtitle. So you're on a really big screen, subtitles are the size of a small child. It's now able to make them 30 to 50% smaller.
Yeah.
And you have full control over all of this. If you want a static color, you can do that. If you want an adaptive color that changes, if you want adaptive APL and all of this stuff, it's able to do all of that. And it's just, that was announced at CEDIA.
And you've got a preview of it, like you've already been playing with it on your side since you work with them.
Yeah,
that's super cool. Super cool and game changer, really. The reason I laughed is because I'm imagining AI trying to read off the subtitle and then putting it back out what it thinks it read versus what you get, and you get some sort of Chingrish subtitle.
It doesn't do that. But speaking of you can now game through Envy.
Yes, that's a huge one too.
And you can use the HDR tone mapping, nonlinear stretch, frame duplication, all of that stuff on your games. So we were
for only a couple milliseconds penalty.
We were able to optimize all of the algorithms and drop the latency significantly so that Envy isn't adding anything meaningful.
Wait a minute. You had like 179 milliseconds.
220.
Delay, and now you're going to like gaming worthy? Like how are you
like 4 to 5?
No, we're not that low. It was low enough. It's low enough that people that were saying they were gamers couldn't notice it. They couldn't find it.
Wow.
No, it's not like FPS competitive.
No.
Low. But I mean, FPS competitive, you shouldn't be gaming on a projector anyway.
You're talking, I mean, we had a live demo at CEDIA with Envy, a PS5 feeding Envy, playing on a 240p 4K QD OLED monitor.
Mm-hmm.
And people couldn't detect any latency. So it's Envy now has HDMI 2.1 in with VRR, with HDMI 2.1 out with VRR. So now we support variable refresh rate.
Which is super cool.
Super fantastic.
Yes.
I saw that part and that was awesome.
Yes. So
that's not on the core, I suppose. That's on the.
It is on the core.
Wow.
Yes.
You guys, that's big news.
It is big news. Yes, it's big news. And all of the previous generation units, so core Mark 1 core, even Mark 1 Pro, Mark 1 Extremes, Mark 2 Extremes, they're all going to get this. They're not going to have the same ability that like the Mark II core, the Mark III Pro, and the Mark III Extreme are going to have because of the input card and headroom, but they will still get the ability to do it through optimizations.
Well, yeah. Again, congrats. That's huge.
And I don't know what the specific latency is because it hasn't been measured, but it is low.
But that's a really cool thing too, especially if it's already in your signal chain.
Yes.
You don't have to now run a bypass mode around it for things like that.
No. No more running around.
So like it's in the Alcon's room, they showed and I went twice to the Alcon's room too. These both did a kind of a big tune between day 1 and day 2. Day 1, like they ran the line array ribbons up front. And there was kind of a big disconnect between the ribbons and the bass. It was still a little hot in that room too. They ran a music clip that didn't sound quite right. They ran that scene from Ghostbusters in the beginning with the Ecto 1. They ran the running through that tunnel, the mine tunnel from 1917, where the rat trips the trip mine.
Mm-hmm.
That looked really cool. That one kind of shows off more of like the way the colors just kind of looked the same way they expect them to. Everything just looked a little bit better. Ghostbusters looked super black, and it's a very dark scene in that movie. There was no real.
If there was any pulsing that you saw with the laser dimming,
I didn't
see any.
I did not see any pulsing.
When I saw it, the black bars were still on the screen. They zoomed them off for I think your demo.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, because I saw it before the show, I went in there and I think I saw it on Tuesday, and the show didn't open till Thursday. So I saw it then. I saw a Ghostbusters clip that you didn't see. It was the one later where they're fighting.
I saw that second day, so I'm not there yet.
So I saw her.
Right.
But I had black bars. And the cool thing about the black bars is you could see the black bars changing,
Yes.
but you couldn't see the content changing. And
Now-
sometimes the black bars, it was a drastic difference if it was a bright scene, but I could not pick it up in the content.
You could see it, and actually that's what I was going to mention too on the way when we did that clip with it on and off. You could see the overspill actually change intensity.
Yes.
So
you couldn't see it in the content, I didn't see any type of pumping.
Never noticed it in the content.
Anything. No,
not like when you see the pumping in like the waking up scene from 1917 in
Nope.
basically everything.
Nope.
No pumping anywhere.
That wouldn't fly in commercial cinema. That would not work.
It looked good. So the second day I went back in the Alcon's room because I forgot to talk about that with the Christie one or the other one. They changed a few of the clips. The Ghostbusters clip changed. They did Wall-E. They did a different clip from Passengers. Spider-Verse still looked really good. I think they might have done Passengers the first day too. They did the past where the ship comes around the sun.
Mm-hmm.
That looked really good in that room too. But the Ghostbusters clip they showed was the second one at the end where they were fighting Zool.
I like that Zool one more because she looks really good.
Everything looks really good. I mean, like it's not gray, it's black. I mean, for a lot of that stuff, because it's a very dark night scene.
Was 500 nits too much?
No,
no,
not at all in that room. And the second day in that room, when they retuned it, I mean, they didn't play the music clip again, so I couldn't really like A/B compare that one. But they tuned that one. They wasn't quite as hot the second day either, and the ribbons did sound a lot better integrated on the second day when I went back. But overall, it was a great room. I mean, I liked the Alcons. I just never heard them before. It would be interesting to hear them in a different environment.
Here, Bob, before you go on, I gotta address this super chat. High Finest 343, thanks for the $10 USD, much appreciated. He says, ahoy, we have reference level gear and open concept living room space, 97-inch G2 SP17s, 88D4 series bed layer, K-Scape Marantz AV10. Should I chase Atmos? I have a pair of B&W M1s mounted above the rears.
He doesn't say how big his room is, does he?
No, but I'm thinking general media space, like living room. I'm thinking of a living room.
Yeah.
I would not chase Atmos.
Unless you can do in-ceiling speakers and you want it just for ambience. I wouldn't try to mount ceiling mount speakers.
Your living room, Jonathan? Would you put Atmos in there?
I wouldn't put a system like that in my living room just from my wife's perspective. But man, I might have a different take than you guys. I would put 2 ceilings in for Atmos if he can do it in a cosmetically approval way, because it sounds like you got a real nice system there. Yeah. I think Atmos adds a lot. It adds a lot to music. It adds a lot to modern movies.
But I think it's important to not jam something in that doesn't fit.
Right. If you can hide it aesthetically and make it look good in the room, it's not a bad thing to add. The other thing with in-ceiling speakers, especially with a second floor room, if you have bedrooms above that space, depending on what your room looks like there, you can hear those in-ceiling speakers through the floor in that room. So if that's like a bedroom, that might be something to watch out for. If it makes sense in your space, it will add a little bit, but it's not going to add a lot for most of the content you're going to be watching up there.
So Jonathan, you think that if it works, if you could put it in the ceiling, you'd do it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the gear that he's got there. This is like high-end stuff. He's got a real nice system, and I think you're leaving something on the table if you don't at least put 2 speakers up there. I don't think you need 6 speakers.
No,
but 2 makes a nice positive difference, and for everything. And
it depends on where you sit in the wall too. I mean, if you're sitting in the room, if you're sitting in the middle of the room, you could maybe do 4, but if you're on the back wall, I wouldn't do more than 2.
I mean, I'm not saying you guys are wrong. Everyone has their own perspective, so you're just getting a mixed opinion here. That's fine.
You're wrong.
But what I would say is if you have just one seating spot you care about, put them just front of you and above, right? So like not directly overhead.
Like my previous living room.
Put them a little forward of you, maybe like where my arm is. This camera keeps changing focus, but that way, because our ears are designed to hear forward better than behind. So if you're just gonna have 2 speakers, have them a little bit forward of directly overhead, and I think it'd be worth your time to do that.
Okay. Good question.
And then since I touched on the Alcons the second day, I ended with the Christie room the Ascendo room the second day, and I mean it was not as hot. It was much better integrated, and they changed some clips around. I really liked the sound the second day, but it was really kind of just paying more attention to see the how the Eclipse looked after seeing everything else. They played this little clip, and I don't know what it was from, but it started with a guy playing a trumpet in a cemetery, and there was a flyover from a bomber, and then
That's a really cool scene.
it goes into a concert. Do you know what that's from?
I
Roger
do.
Waters.
Yes.
Is that what it was from? Okay.
Yeah.
What's the name of that? It's not just Roger Waters. It's because he's got several of those ones out.
I'll have to go look and find it on the K-scape.
But it's a really cool scene. I know what you're talking about.
He's wearing a black shirt in that, and then watching that, like the black shirt on him is stunningly black as how deep that is, and it looks really cool.
You know you're a nerd in AV when you're describing somebody's shirt as stunningly black.
That was it was a really neat way to end out, because I was getting right ahead to the airport, and I'd come in the morning when there were some technical issues that were being addressed in the room. So I went to go see other stuff because I had limited time. Came back, and the line was going to be like an hour and plus. I asked Chris if there was a way I could just go in and sit on the floor so I could see it one more time. And he was super awesome and let me get back in there to see it one more time, and super appreciative of that. It was really neat. It was a really great way to end stuff out, because I kind of got to start and end in the same space. After the Alcon's room, I went to Barco. At their booth, I was going around with the Cinemite guys who we had at M-Wave, and who were awesome again. And a couple other guys that they knew, and it was just kind of a really great group of people everywhere. But we're off to the Barco booth, and they had their video wall outside. It's their 0.9 one. You can see the bottom panel didn't exactly connect, I guess. But it was another neat one. They weren't hot like some of the other ones I seen in the past, and another one I'll mention later. But they still looked good, even outside. But if you get in close, I mean, you could see, and they obviously didn't have a lot of time to set this up. So this is not the way they're going to be indicative of it.
You should watch these guys trying to get these things up as quickly as possible. I mean,
I've got some pictures later of like what some of these mounting systems look like, and the fact that they got these this good, I mean, is kind of amazing given the way these mounts work on some of them. But like, I mean, you could see this, you could see the gaps on this one. When you start back and you stand this far away, you don't notice them at all. But like everything else, like once you see it, you're like, and then you see the line, and then you see the space between it, because you know what to look for. But I mean, that's a full pixel off right there, so that's probably easily adjustable with an actual install. The inside of the room, they had the Heimdall Plus with some Meridian speakers. It was not really meant to be a sound room. It was just meant to be a room where they had sound, because the room was not nearly as dead as some of the other ones as far as sound insulation. So you could hear a lot of the convention around you. It worked for what it was trying to do. It was mostly there to show off the projector. You can see some of the familiar faces in there. The projector, again, they had up on top.
That projector is so insanely quiet.
It is crazy quiet. And there's some other ones that were crazy quiet too. This was like the Heimdall Plus, I mean, looked sharp. And by sharp, I mean like almost like digital to sharp. I mean,
just super sharp.
It did. It just looked really crazy clear. It had good pop, and it looked almost like with animated content. It looked a little bit too digital compared to some of the other ones. Like the Christie looked more like watching a movie, whereas the other one looked like watching it on like a display at home. Not in a bad way, but it was a different presentation. Mm-hmm. It handled fast motion really, really well.
Were they using Dyna Black? Did they say?
They did not mention it. I think they were, but I'm not sure. But like I said, the animation looked really good. The motion looked really good. I don't know whether or not I saw a hint of rainbow on that one. It was one of those ones where like I was looking for it and I couldn't tell if it happened or not, because it's a single chip DLP. but I never really it wasn't one of those ones where you just saw it and then you just couldn't stop seeing them. So it was one of those ones where I don't know if I noticed it or not, but there were a number of other single chip DLPs where I discovered that I am really sensitive to RBE, or they just are RBE machines. And if you're sensitive to them, you're going to see a lot. And I kind of ran into that on more than one. After that one, I went to the Crix room, which was, here's some of the speakers they had in the room. Here's the interior. They had their speakers out in the corner. It was on a little smaller screen. They were running these, they called them infrasonic subwoofers, but they, didn't go down as well. And an LS 7000 or the QB 7000. They were kind of 18-inch subwoofers in larger enclosures. The Epson in this room looked
MW. It is not next month, you liar. You're just as bad as Jonathan.
I just didn't lie. I said, "When is it being released?" And
nothing but fibbing.
I asked a question.
No, I'm talking about you and earlier, not right now. You and earlier, just
yeah. So it's
lies.
Vader is coming out. They did specifically say Vader is coming out to all their 3-chip units. So it will be on the Griffin series, and it will be on the M4K series next year sometime.
Yeah,
but not anytime soon.
Coming to commercial first.
Yes. The Epson in this room, in particular room, looked really good.
Which Epson was it? I'm sorry.
It was the 7000.
Yeah.
The Crix speakers had really nice dynamics. There was not a lot of bass in this room, but I mean, there was 4 18-inch subwoofers compared to what was in some of the other ones. The price on this room was not nearly as expensive as some of the other ones too. It sounded generally pretty good. Bit of compression in the highs and with the volumes they were trying to push, but I mean, there weren't monster speakers in there. It was nice and clean. It was an enjoyable room. It was definitely more approachable than some of the other stuff as far as price point, by a lot. But I mean, there
shouldn't be compressing at 98 dB sensitive. Like that shouldn't even be a thing. Unless there was some sort of bad EQ. It may not have
been compression of the speaker. It may have been distortion in the room.
Which could be.
Because the rooms, remember, aren't treated, and it could be all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Could have been the amplifier. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't the speakers. I'm just saying there's a lot of variables that it's tough to say, hey, it's this when we don't know.
The highs just sound like at times they were running out of headroom, but like I said, that could have been a number of things. And the rooms were overly dead, especially in this one. Because if you notice and you look at the interior of this room, this is all high frequency absorption covering the entire room. Did not have the diffraction set up like a number of the other ones to kind of bring down that absorption. So, which also could have contributed to it. But overall, I mean, it was the first time I ever heard the Crix speakers. They did a good job. After that, I went to the next level room. You might notice a familiar face or two in that one too, sitting right in front.
Joey.
Yeah. They were running the digital projection.
Somebody had a question about that projector.
eVision projector. People photobombing me, trying to get some pictures of the room.
Paul. About that projector?
Yeah, I'll talk about that projector a little bit. I have a picture of the room without it.
What did you think of the QL?
What's eVision? Who makes eVision?
DPI.
It's a digital projection.
You don't see many DPIs, like you don't see many Sim2s.
I did go to Sim 2 also, so I'll talk about that a little bit later. I wish I had a better picture of the room. They were hanging, they had swords and like tapestries hung all around this room, and it looked really cool. It was just kind of a fun space. I unfortunately screwed up and didn't take a picture of the side. I thought the sound was it was pretty good. Maybe a little bit boxy, but again, you're in a room that's not ideal, so it's really hard to say there. Let's see, they did Star is Born. That sounded pretty good on the speakers. I did like them. They had pretty good integration with the bass. The digital projection unit was bright, had good colors, motion was super fast. But if you notice at the front of the room, that's not a particularly big screen. I think it was a 120-inch non-AT screen. So while it was bright and punchy, it was not like 160, 180-inch screen where they're trying to throw a lot of
10,000 lumens, if I remember right.
It's 10,000 lumens, right? So it looked really impressive on the screen. I liked it up until we got to the last clip. And the last clip was the scene where I guess the bearded lady starts singing at the end of Greatest Showman.
Mm-hmm.
And they're out. She's in that like really bright blue dress. The colors looked really good. I like the first part. And then they go into this big ballroom where everyone's wearing white gowns and dancing around, and it's rainbows everywhere.
Now, I know I'm always looking at the positive stuff. If you're not sensitive to rainbows, it may not be a problem.
No, it was a good looking unit. This was one of those ones where like I had never really, other than a particular unit that we don't talk about, had never really experienced a single chip DLP projector. And I saw them for the first time on that, and like, I don't know what's going on here, what the problem was, and I just never been around single chip DLP projectors. And I was around a lot of them this weekend, and I saw the same thing on every one of them. So it's not like one was, I guess, maybe worse or better, because I don't really have that as a reference anymore. But as soon as I got to a point where it was that same type of content, you could start seeing them, and then you get a flash here or there as you kind of watch things. Like, did I see that? Did I not see that? But when that type of content hits, where it's whites with colors around, some contrasting things, they become very noticeable if you're susceptible to it. And that's just, I unfortunately susceptible to it. So
there should be, Bob, there should be different color wheel speeds that can affect that. 4X is bad, 6X is more tolerable.
And whether or not they have, because they don't really necessarily have color wheels. That's just the way they're going to cycle through, because these are all laser units that don't actually use a color wheel. And so they kind of, they keep that term as like the refresh rate on them. And I know Barco on the Heimdall Plus does something different depending upon the input speed of the motion. So it can run at different refresh rates on its light engine, depending upon the type of content it's fed. And so that's why I couldn't tell whether or not I ever saw that on the Heimdall, because it never got to one of those scenes. And it was maybe just they didn't play a scene where I would have noticed it, or maybe I saw a flash here or there, wasn't sure. So I can't really say whether or not I noticed it on the Heimdall, because I might have, but I'm not sure. Like, it was one of those ones that was like brief. It was like, did I see that? I'm not sure. So I don't want to say I noticed on that one, but on the other ones, I unfortunately did. And this one, I didn't notice it much until the end. But once you saw it in that clip, like, and that ballroom with the people in white gowns moving, it was just, they were everywhere. And it was bad for someone who perceives that type of effect like I do. Other than that, the room was great.
I'm going to do a super chat here again. Christian Kansichi, thanks for the $5 USD. Much appreciated. Never expected. Can you implement a waveforming bass array with direct art on Storm Audio? Also, how badly would near field subs hurt a front to rear bass array? Jonathan, I'm going to let you take the second part of this. I'll answer the first part. Art is different than waveforming. Art uses all speakers and all subs to try and support everything else in the space. It doesn't use one's like support or primary array and another supporting array. So it's different. It's doing cancellations, but it's doing it in a different way. So you can't look at it as waveforming. It's doing cancellation like what waveforming is doing. It's just has a different approach to it.
So it does more reinforcement than cancellation too.
Yeah. So Jonathan, I'll let you take the next part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just guessing on that, Ryan, unfortunately, because I haven't experienced it. But at face value, if you made the rear subs for the base array your near field, and you didn't have a neck set behind that, which is the only way that would really work, I don't know how because the main intent of near field is feel, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're in the proximity, you're going to get a feel as it's kind of catching that sound from the base array. Does that how would that feel? Would the timing be correct and so forth? I don't know the answer to that. I haven't experienced it. It's kind of
Well,
like a
the whole
logic
point of having a
question.
double bass array is to have a matched set of subs in the front and the back, where the rear subs are actually there to just cancel
Well,
the incoming
I
reflective
guess
wave
I
from
can
the
answer
front.
this because this is actually how my room's set up. So I have the ability to run Storm and Chernov, either one. They're both in the room. So I'm going to attack this from the waveforming standpoint because I think that's what you're asking. Because I have an active array up front, and then I have the supporting array in the rear. And I also have my infrasonics on a totally separate implementation. So what we have to do is the infrasonics we had to not present to waveforming because they're doing something different, and you can't present them to it because it wants everything to be together. So if you're doing waveforming, I think it's going to hurt the performance of your active and support arrays. If you're trying to add them into your waveforming implementation. So I would not do that. If you're going to do this, they need to be tuned down very low so that they're not getting in the way of what waveforming is trying to do. And they need to be not presented to waveforming. And you actually need to do this in Storm, at least as of right now, as well. You need to present, like I had to present my infrasonics as something totally different. And you're going to want to present a near field array or near field subs, not with art, because you don't want them trying to support other speakers, because when it's trying to fire, right, to cancel something else, you're going to feel that if it's right next to you, and you don't want it to be doing that. So in my Trinov setup, I've got it, the infrasonics are being pulled off of one of the channels, and then frequencies are being duplicated into the infrasonics using a QSC QSys 110F. And then the Storm is able to do it internally using multiple zones in theaters. So I would keep it separate. Otherwise, you're potentially going to open a whole can of worms and create all kinds of problems because you're introducing things that both of those technologies are not expecting. And anything unexpected is just going to cause problems.
The reason that it works well in the way Ryan's doing that in his room is because the goal of both art and waveforming, especially waveforming, is to defeat standing waves in the room with cancellation modes. And what happens is when you add infrasonic subs, you don't need to add those, and you don't need to deal with that because they are of a frequency that is lower than the lowest standing wave in the room. So when you run those, you generally put those infrasonics down below where that lowest standing wave is going to exist in your room. And so, but if you're trying to play 60, 80 hertz content through your near fields, that's messing up what those technologies are trying to do. If you're trying to play 20 hertz rumbles and shakes and maybe pushing, depending on your room size, 25, 30 hertz, that's outside of that, what those technologies are attempting to cancel, because you're below where that last standing wave exists in your room. So it's not as much of a deal at that point in time because there's nothing for them to do at that point.
All right, I got to answer this. True pro cinema, or the true pro home cinema sound, I think you're full of crap. And the reason I'm going to say this is because THX cinemas back then, even today, you can't create the frequencies that infrasonics and stuff are trying to do. It's not possible because you don't have the power, you don't have the driver surface area. You cannot do it, which is why commercial cinemas focus on X frequency, typically of 30 hertz and above. It is not possible to do what we're doing in residential. Because the rooms are too big. You cannot do it. And the other problem with it is if you start getting into these low frequencies, if you understand how long waveforms are, you're potentially going to contaminate other theaters, because it is very difficult to stop waveforms that are that long and have that much energy. So I'm going to say that you can either continue to be negative and say that everybody's just spouting a bunch of BS, or just enjoy the show, right? These rooms, every vendor put a tremendous amount of work into. And some of them may not be as snazzy as others because it takes money to do this. A lot of these vendors are spending 30, 40, 50, $100,000 just for floor space. That doesn't even include the room, paying people to do it, doing the equipment, doing any of that. That is literally just for the space on the floor and for having the union move the stuff to the space on a forklift. So if you're going to constantly just go, hey, these look cheap and this sucks and this, dude, we don't want you here, because it's people like you that are going to bring this space and this hobby down. And I don't really care for that to be in this space. So it's either get happy or get out. Sorry. Back to our scheduled programming.
Summing up this room, I thought the sound was great. The speakers sounded really good. I did like the vocal clip in this one a lot. I see rainbows, so I mean that's going to color my comment on the projector. If you don't see rainbows, it had a great picture. I think it was I don't know what the pricing on this one is, so I don't have any information on that one. But it was a neat room. I went next door after that to K-Array, and went from big speakers to very, 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 very tiny speakers. I mean, these are 1/2-inch, I think, speakers.
I know nothing about K-Array.
These things are, it's that. It's smaller than an old Bose Cube, but it's the same kind of concept of, satellite and then woofer array. So each one of these, this was paired with this little woofer array on the bottom. This particular one was multiple in a row paired with this one. This one was larger drivers, maybe 2.5s with a larger one. And they kind of had these for residential spaces where you want to put unobtrusive speakers, where you want to throw something next to a TV and not take up a lot of space on a wall, where you want to put them in a kitchen, where you want to put them in a dining room. They're small. They don't take up a lot of space. They sounded pretty decent for what they are. I mean, you can't expect a lot of headroom out of a very tiny speaker, but they sounded good for what they were. They had a bigger room in the other side where they had these kind of a line array next to a TV. And that one you can kind of see the individual drivers and how big they are. I think these were maybe 2-inch drivers in an array. They kind of had a pro audio sound. They were nice. Maybe a little tinny, but sounded pretty good. Then they had their big ones for kind of like a club sound, which was a horn loaded speaker. And I didn't quite love those, but I mean, it's a different sound. That just wasn't my sound. Went to the other big demo room on the other end that had sound room 6. Sound room 6. Yes, or 6. So this was the other one that was kind of at the other end of the hall, and this was the other main big room. So it's PMC speakers, Barco again with the Heimdall Plus. There were, I think, 3 of them at the show.
There was more than 3.
Where was the other one?
I couldn't tell you, but I know there
was one in the Lindorf room. There was one in this room. There was one in the Barco room.
I think there was the entire North American stock was at CEDIA.
I know I saw at least 3 Heimdall Pluses
now
there.
One vendor that is not on this, it's Deus.
I've got pictures of it, and I'll bring it up.
I know,
again.
but it's not on this thing.
I think maybe owned by. They were demoing with. They were displayed with PMC. So
they were, but it's not the.
It's not. They're not attachment there. No.
Yeah.
There was an acoustics room, and I'll get to that too later. MW. Because I did go to it also. Inside, another similarly acoustically treated room. Those look very familiar.
Again.
You can see some of the speakers there. It was behind an acoustically transparent screen. You can kind of see the bottom of their speakers, and there you can see the Deus. It's really out of focus, but I mean the fact that it's there. You unfortunately couldn't see it in the room. I got pictures of it later from outside, and what it is we'll talk about in a second. There's their ceiling again, same kind of textured options, same reflections on the side. There's the back PMC speakers.
Those speakers were not fun to mount.
I can imagine they weren't. The Heimdall in this room, again, looked great on motion. It was really smooth. I did like the sound of the PMC speakers. I've heard them before, so it's kind of a familiar sound. I've heard them at Expo a number of years. So I've liked them for years. They sounded pretty good. The low bass was a little bit kind of slow and bloated.
This room needed more subs.
It did.
It was 415s and they were getting pushed. We were supposed to get more, but there was an issue that came up and we had to deal with what we had. So it was it needed more. And MW4 rear surrounds. This room was using art, so the more full range speakers you can put up, the more support you can provide at any given position. So that's why there's so many.
I don't want to click on that one yet. No, that's okay. So again, Heimdall Plus, it looked really good in this room. We watched, I think, F1 in this room. And when we were watching the scene where they're outside in the rain, was that in this one? No, that was in a different
F1?
room. Yeah, it was F1 was in this
one. F1 was in this one.
It was the opening scene in this one.
Yes.
F1 was everywhere. Everyone was playing F1. Mostly the opening. There were a couple of other ones that played everything else, but I mean, the opening scene played everywhere. And this is another one of those ones where it was maybe there was a flash and I thought I saw a rainbow, but I just didn't see them again. So I can't specifically say whether or not, like, if you're sensitive, you would notice it on the Heimdall or not. I just didn't have enough time on it with the right type of clips. I liked this room a lot. Other than the bass, it was a little bit lacking. And then there was a certain part that made it a little bit. This was what that Deus was logo right there. So this was the other big subwoofer that was in the room. Maybe it was set up. Maybe it was the fact that they just had less supporting subs there. I didn't love the way the low end sounded in this room. I guess the speaker has a much smaller voice coil.
I don't know anything about this one.
It has from what I was told, it has a much smaller voice coil than the Ascendo one. I also think the price is a lot lower too. But it didn't sound as tight and controlled. But it's another big monster. You can kind of see the back of that. I mean, compared to what the back of that motor structure on the Ascendo one looks like, I mean, that's significantly smaller. So, again, I like the PMC speakers in that room. I thought the Barco looked good in that room. It was a good showing.
Bob, are you saying that's the pole vent and that's the motor structure on the back of the magnet for that?
As far as I can tell, yes.
What kind of pole vent is that? It looks like the size of a pencil.
I don't know. But
I don't know, but there you go.
We don't know. So I'm just going to say that.
Because it's not even a pole vent. That's just a
mounting access point. Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily look like it's actually the
And I don't know how much like these have actually been moved around, but you can tell right there. I mean, this is speaker number 2.
So Deus is new.
Right.
We don't know if a lot of the stuff that was encountered was calibration. I mean, again, these rooms are thrown together. So I try and not make very harsh judgments at these shows. It's just cool to see things, get hands-on, talk to the people that are there. And then if you think something would be a good application, it spurs more conversation down the line. Getting this is how this X, Y, or Z performs at an expo is not a great thing to do.
No, but the fact that there's now another one or two coming into the market is really cool.
Yes.
And that I really appreciated.
Go ahead, Jonathan. Sorry.
I just want to make sure I'm clear. That's not a pole vent. At first, when we look at the picture, I thought it was.
No. That I believe that's a screw.
Wiring or something, perhaps. Yeah.
No, that's threaded right there. That's a hex nut.
Exactly. I couldn't tell when it was originally showing the picture.
How dare you make things up, liar? He's just going on these rampages of speaking false truths.
After this, I kind of done the big sound rooms on the one side. And so I went downstairs to go check out a couple things because I was kind of running out of time in the day. Everything took longer because there were just so many like familiar faces that you kind of have conversations with, and everyone's awesome. So it was kind of hard to keep moving. You will see something kind of familiar for at least people in Kansas City when I went to the next room. Who's seen something like this before?
Oh, we've done that very thing in Kansas City on several occasions.
In fact, we did the very same thing with that they did maybe like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So this was the Epson room, QB 3000 or the QL 3000, 7000. Was that the
QB 1000?
LS 12,000 maybe?
QB 1000.
QB 1000. It's a gold.
Gold
Yes,
ring.
you're right.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one over there.
Looks like another QL.
Another QL. Because I think that's the 3000 again over there.
Couple Sonys below.
NZ 800, Sony 5100, and Sony 6100.
So interestingly, Bob, I happened to watch a video on this today. Someone live stream. I don't know if it's live stream. They captured a video of Rob's comments in here, and it struck me as something that was probably not meant to be broadcast to the public because he was really specifically talking to vendors in that clip. So 2 questions from that.
Mm-hmm.
A, do they tell you not to film in those rooms? Is it like kind of an etiquette thing that shouldn't have been released, or is that okay?
I've never heard anyone say don't film it, or no one mentioned it. But I mean, I wasn't filming, so I just took stills.
Yeah. Okay.
No one ever said don't take stills or take pictures, and a lot of people were taking videos with their phones. So it was never mentioned that I heard of.
And then the second thing I'll ask you at the end, because I don't want to steal your thunder, actually.
No, go ahead. If you've got any questions related to this one or a video.
So yeah, in that video, it was like 35 minutes long. It's on ABS Forum in the QL thread.
It was a long demo, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting to see. They just reset all the color modes and so forth.
Was this from day 1 or day 2?
I have no idea. It didn't say in the video, but Rob was doing the overview, and it definitely was talking to the integrators or to the installers, even telling them like modeling what to say to their customers to kind of like get a sale and stuff. I mean, it was behind the scenes how the sausage is made type talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
There
have been that's a standard Epson talk. And if you look through some of the threads, there are very similar Epson talks with the same verbiage from previous conventions. One of those showed up, I think, when the QLs first came out. I don't remember what show that was at.
I remember hearing about that one too.
Yeah, and it was very similar in verbiage.
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of go into that just because that's, that's not really relevant for this. That's their thing.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Well, and that was my question. Like, if that was a breach of etiquette to post that on there or not.
I don't particularly know on that one. The only thing I will say about this is that the demo was done in a very specific way that made Epson look very good. The first day, there were some shenanigans going on that I heard about that were not exactly cool.
So in the video I watched, he very clearly reset the color mode they were in every time and said like, hey, watch me. Because I've been accused of not doing this right. So it must have been the second day then, if what you're saying.
It was the second day then, because
he was saying, I'm going to reset each of these color modes and show you their out-of-box recommended thing from each manual, what color mode to use, and we're going to reset it, and we're just going to see how it is. That's how he did the second day. How it was in the video I watched.
Okay, all right. Since we have done this before, and we know what we would expect it anyway, and I don't like that this happened the first day, and I happened to see this the first day, and I didn't go back the second day. The NZ 800 was taken out of frame adapt. So tone mapping was turned off. And
it wasn't turned off. It was in static, wasn't it?
It was set to a different mode where tone mapping was disabled.
Oh.
And in SDR, the power was at like 50%.
Wow, that's terrible. That's terrible.
You
saw this firsthand, or you heard this?
I heard this from someone else, so I don't want to.
Well, now wait a second.
And I don't know that this was, and I'm not going to say this was the presenter's fault, because he specifically stated when he did it, this is the way they came out of the boxes, and someone else that was not him set that up. So I
It's
don't know if there
also,
was
having done
miscommunication.
shows, it's also entirely possible that somebody came up and asked somebody a question and they changed things and didn't reset them.
So I don't know. I'm just saying that it was not set up the way it should have been the first day. But given that we have done this test ourselves
We know what the
prior to this,
outcome should be.
the outcome would not have been dramatically different. But the JVC was presented, it's significantly worse in light than it should have been.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
Not that it
So,
would
I
have
mean,
gotten
to
better,
give
but
them
it
some grace here, to Ryan's point, I know what these shows from being in myself, where someone will come in and be like, "How would my projector XYZ compare to this projector?" He might say, like, "I have an older JVC that doesn't have dynamic tone mapping." The guy might say, "Hey, it's half the lumens, and you don't have tone mapping, so it's turn off." And to Ryan's point, done an illustration and then neglected or forgot to
then you
flip
get
it
pulled over, you get somebody else asks you a question, and then it's 30 minutes later and you forget to change it back.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to go into some of the stuff I've heard, whether or not it's true or not. I don't want to try to throw anyone on the bus or
There
make
was
comments, but
drama.
there was
And
drama, and it was not presented. The JVC was not presented correctly the
but
first day, and I'll
to
just leave it at
Epson's
that.
credit, the second day, they were doing due diligence and saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing."
And
So,
correct, and I did hear that the second day it was corrected. So we'll just leave it at that one.
not sure what happened.
The result, and they were doing these side by side. We saw the QL 3000. They turned all the lights off in the room, so it was darker in the room, and including some evidently sometimes when they did this demo, all the lights weren't on, and some of the ones in the back were still on. When I personally saw this, all the lights in the room were turned off, and there was no one on the outside of the room, so it was dark-ish. I mean, there's still exit ambient lights on, but you had the QL 3000, and then it was the QL 3000 versus the Sony 5100, I think, which are about the same price. Is that right? Or 6100?
6100.
61. They did the 5100. No, 5100s versus the Epson.
Probably QB
I
or
think maybe
LS.
QB 1000. Yeah. But anyway, they had the. It was a very sales focused pitch, but at the end of the day, we saw them side by side, and we saw the Sony, same price Sony versus the same price Epson, so the 6000 lumen Epson. And because they were side by side in a room, which one's your eye draw to? Which one looks better because it's
brighter
twice
one.
as bright?
Sure.
Right. We
How big
know
was the
exactly how this
screen?
works. The screens were 165.
He
I
said
wanna say.
160 in the video I watched, but
Okay, maybe 160.
but once it's margin of error, whatever.
They were a good size screen. I mean, they were maybe 160 inch screens or something. It was not a small 120. It was a
You know
good
what the
size screen.
material was?
It was non-AT. I think it was Stewart, maybe
Probably
Cinematech
Stewart.
100, 130.
It was probably a Stewart Haler.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Haler.
Oh,
Because
was it?
They specifically noted that they did Haler another year. They were white screens.
Oh,
So it was either Studio Tech 100 or 130, and I don't remember which one.
I suspect 100 based on the statistics in that video, because he said they were getting 350 nits on it with a QL 3000, if I remember right from the video I watched.
And
so
you
that
can throw that in
would be
Projector Central and figure out what the gain was. But I mean,
10.
but it was either 100 or 130. Either way, it was a big screen, and it was enough light that you could light those okay with the JVC, and that's kind of stretching their limits to try to hit high brightness. But when you put them next to each other, there is a dramatic difference on how they look, especially with the lights on. I think they turned the lights off maybe a little ways into it. Then they did the JVC, or the Epson versus the Sony, the Epson versus the JVC, which had a really weird green push to it that I'd never seen on a JVC either the first time. And then they did the Epson versus the other Epson versus the 7000, and you could just see how much that amount of light makes a change on it. And that it is a very stunning difference to see the amount of. It looks like Chad said 130, but
Okay.
Possibly, but it was at least a neutral or positive gain, solid non-AT screen, and they looked good. But that bright image is just a bright image, and you can't get past that.
I mean, we know what the outcome is going to be in this,
right? And it's just seeing it for someone else, and it's when you see them side by side, you can't really compare that. But when we did that, and I, kind of hung out with the JVCs quite a bit, and they, got a little bit of talk on their sim stuff. They've evidently turned the lasers down in their sim pits for commercial aviation, but they make sure that to get color accuracy, to get accurate adaptation to the room. Like pilots have to sit in like light controlled rooms for extended periods of times before going to these sim pits to adequately duplicate the conditions so that their eyes are acclimated to long-term exposure in these lights. So they don't have the color issues on those and the contrast issues and the brightness issues because your eyes have been acclimated. And so you don't notice the fact that, like if you left that room and came back and it's 100 nits or 50 nits or something, and you left that room and came back and it was, couple hundred, you may perceive that image the same way if your eyes have had adequate time to readjust to that. But if we flip the lights off, which one looks better? You're going to go to that brighter one because you've already been exposed to that higher brightness. So it's what we'd seen before. There was nothing kind of
I got a couple counters for you on that, Bob. Just from my experience with the NZ500 and the QL3000, like I don't think it's all what you're used to by itself anymore. Because I've had these now for a few months. When I flip on the NZ500, now that I have a frame of reference that's pretty solid from the QL3000, that NZ500 seems dim, like it just does.
I'll get
not unusable.
I'll get to that when I get to JVC because I got some JVC stuff too.
Right.
But this one was just more of like it's really hard to beat this brightness.
Sure.
Like it looks really good, and that the brightness is for a lot of people right now is very unattainable, especially when you compare it to emissive displays. And emissive displays are just getting bigger and cheaper every year. And we're at that point when we're a amazingly beautiful 115-inch TV. It's what, 20 grand?
Yeah.
And
100 inches, $1,500, $600. Yeah.
The $89, 889-inch TV is $1,500 every day at Costco or Sam's Club. They're everywhere now. And so it's hard to, unless you're going for the audio, if you're going for the 150, 160, 180-inch screens, like projection's at a tough standpoint with the output of the units that we have. Like 3,000 lumens is just not, the majority of the big players being 3,000 lumens is a rough place to be.
It is. That's actually a really good point.
And there were just so many beautiful looking big displays that worked in full brightness. Like they're just on a wall in the middle of the convention center and the picture looks really good.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a projected image. The projected image looked really good, but it takes a lot of money on the projected image side to get to the point where it's going to look as good as a TV.
All right. So, next room.
This was kind of a cool room. So this is just their outdoor display. So, because it has kind of a picture of the speakers, but I went to Theory. They had so that's their in walls and ceilings. These basically are just pro audio speakers. And my wife has something similar to this that she uses for
Jonathan.
live music.
I don't think you're thinking of the same projector, are you? The Christie M4K15?
No, no, that was the
You're
860.
thinking of the 860.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
It's in chat. It's not even on screen. But
The
thanks.
M4K15 is a 3-chip E-shifter.
Okay.
So the M4K15, Jonathan, is the one that was displayed in the Ascendo room and the Grimani room at M-Wave.
Yeah, I like
that's
those.
A beautiful projector.
Yeah. Anyway,
I was getting that with the one the comparison.
Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, that's the 860 or something. They had these subs, which are not small, and there's a person standing next to that.
Those are cool.
Yeah, and they sounded really good.
Downstairs in their sound room. They're not out yet. They're super cool.
Yeah, so here's their sound room, and they had these little in walls. They had these little bigger in walls, some slightly larger in walls, and then these bigger speakers.
That sound room looks way different than when I was in it before they finished setting up.
They had these rounds are in these kind of pods mounted in ceiling, and it was a very cool. Oh, that's just the track they played that actually sounded really cool, and I just want to take note of it. That Chinese drum one was neat.
Talk about the display for a second.
There was some display up there that was showing pictures.
Jupiter.
That's right. That's what it was. It was the widescreen Jupiter one. and I forgot
Jeez.
to take a picture of it.
It's right there. But yeah,
I mean
okay,
the
you
picture because
forgot
they
to
had
take a
they
picture
had
of
the
the font.
information of
But
that
it
was
was
in
the
the back.
21:9 display.
I mean, all we can see on this picture is a white screen. Was it a
I
TV?
know, but it was a
Or was it a
21:9
what was it?
LED wall
Oh,
or
okay.
TV, or I don't think it
Yeah.
was a wall. It was a one panel.
It was a one panel, big widescreen thing.
Yeah.
It had a good image, but I
It did.
mean, it was small and it was in a room that was dominated by
Yeah, we're
audio.
calling that small now.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always love the plants at these audio events. Like, hey,
Well,
we're-
they specifically put those plants there because they were kind of by the ports and the speakers, so the plants would dance.
oh,
Yeah, and
Yes.
they're also used a lot of times to hide things.
Yeah, those plants were there to kind of shake, because there's a little sub right there behind them, and so when that sub was playing, the plants would shake.
Well, there's also an enormous sub to the left of it.
But this is the one they used for most of the stuff, and then they played this one at the end, and
Yeah.
that
So the
thing,
big ones, that's dual 21s.
it's super amazing. Like
Yeah,
that,
sounds like
really
porn
good.
stuff.
there was a crazy amount of like super tight bass in this room,
Yeah.
and this was not a great room. I mean, this was a half cube concrete room with not the best acoustics, but I mean, those subs sounded great.
Yeah.
I thought they kind of ran out of headroom in their tweeters and this one's too. These were not expensive. I mean, they were. This one kind of had a couple of jokes like some of the other ones. You know, they were talking about some of the rooms upstairs and the prices on some of the rooms, and they're like, "Here's how you would build a theory audio system for the same price as this one." And they showed you, first thing you do is you buy this $950,000 house, and then you put our theater in it. So, I mean, it was a much more budget-friendly speaker system. It sounded pretty good. It did run at a headroom at the high end, but I mean, it was another one of those really good low-cost systems. It was a good demo. The bass was great in this room. After that one, I went across the hall to Lindorf since they were finally open, and they were showing off.
And I'm not going to be able to last too much longer because I'm starting to get tired because I flew back this morning.
I'll go faster.
This is 10% of his pictures, Ryan. You stay tight.
So they were showing off the line arrays, and these line arrays, I believe, are like $10,000 a piece.
Look at those drivers.
They're not very expensive.
Okay, $10,000 is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme,
In the grand scheme of what
what
someone that shows a name on that says, like, it's not crazy expensive. So there's the rest of the room. There was another Barco in the back that you couldn't see because I was in there after hours and the lights were on.
What size are those subs?
12s, I want to say. Like each one was dual 12s.
Did they hear what Brian was doing in his room and then want to copy it?
There was another room that looked kind of like this too. Yeah. So I mean, there's your each one of those modules stacked up. The room sounded good. It was not like the most expensive one, but it was also in a giant space that, I mean, if you see, this was a big, giant convention space where things were set up and nothing was treated.
Perfect for those line arrays.
Right. So they sounded pretty good in there. I did like it.
Those are modular, right?
They are modular, yes.
So you can just add them to get higher, which is great if you're doing, the reason you would want that is if you're doing multi-row because of how line arrays propagate sound.
Yeah.
Unless you have like the 70J ones, which are curved to kind of try and get around that. These have very limited vertical dispersion. So you need to stack them in order to really gain row-to-row consistency.
So this was an 11.6, excuse me, 11.6.4 system. So the sides were duplicated because they don't have that many channels of decode. That they were running an MP60 processor, so they can do 16 channels of decode, 16 channels out. So all the subs, or the left subs and the right subs, were batched together. Not the left subs were all batched together. The right subs were all batched together, and the left and rights, or the two rows of side surrounds, were tied together.
Top speaker?
Is what?
A top speaker that's hanging on that?
It is on like a mic stand. That's their tops.
Oh.
So, I mean, it sounded good. It was not the best layout for the space.
You do what you can. I mean,
right. You did what you can, and it sounded good. They had the Steinway soundbar out there, which did sound really, it's big and it's expensive, and it sounded good. A couple pairs of speakers that I didn't get to hear. Trinov, I went across to see the new Trinov. That's the Altitude CI. So it's a mostly all digital unit. It's not entirely all digital. And if you look on the back, there is 8 channels of analog out that they had built for, particularly for subwoofers. 32 channels of AES out.
Now, to be clear, you can buy it at different levels like you can with the Altitude 32, 16, 24, and 32. They aren't all 32. It's going to be license based.
So this one, since they released the pricing, was the MSRP is going to be $11,500 for 8 channels on this unit, which does come with full waveforming and I guess all the features.
Yeah.
But additional channels are it's $1,250 for 2 channels. So you have to buy them in increments of 2, but it's $1,250 per additional channels. So like the full system then becomes something like 26 or something for 32 channels.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So you can go Dante for audio over IP. And if you have their Altitude ones, their particular ones, you can daisy chain these so you don't even need to go through an actual switch. So you go one Ethernet cable out into your first set. And then if you have a second one of these amplifiers, you can go just right out and right into the next one. Doesn't even have to be on a main network. So you have to deal with those issues. You can do a combination of 32 channels between Dante, AES, and analog out. So it could be any combination. You can use 8 on this one and 4 here and 8, the rest there. Next year, they're going to come out with a double version of this one that's going to be 64 channels of decode and 64 channels of output.
Yep.
For bigger systems or using active crossovers or things like that. There's no pricing that I heard or anything like that, other than it's going to be next year. They completely redid their interface. It looks much slicker, much more intuitive. I get to poke around with it a little bit. It's definitely easier to find things than on their old one, which was a little bit clunky.
Yay.
Yeah, it's a big improvement. I don't think that's out yet, but it looked really neat. But that was kind of all that was in that room. They weren't really showing it. JVC.
Did JVC talk about the firmware update?
JVC did not talk about the firmware update, but I asked them questions about the firmware update.
Good man. That's JBL.
JBL. Sorry. JVC. I didn't take too many pictures of this because they had 2 booths. They had one with the NZ900 doing the 8K demos, and they had a NZ700 on the other side in a little room, but I didn't have time to go into it. These were the only Martin Logans I saw. They were in there. They did a decent job, but it was a big space, and there was not a lot of bass because I think that was the only subs in there. Watching the NZ900, it's sharp. The motion did look better. It had the new firmware on. They were using CMD on it. So there were some improvements there. Tone mapping looked pretty good. It was tough just to see unfamiliar content to compare it to like my NZ8. But I will say, because they started with lights on and then went to lights off, this is where I was going to make that comment about brightness and how you perceive it. Outdoor scenes still don't feel like outdoors. And I know, John, you've kind of seen that in person too. Like, I get the same thing when I run my projector at low brightness. If I'm at a lower overall output, a outdoor daylight scene just doesn't feel like daylight.
How big was this screen?
165, I believe.
Did they say what it was?
It's a Studio Tech 130, 165, I believe.
That sounds about right.
It had it had the 4-way masking on it, which was cool, and they were using it. Did some 8K content that looked really detailed. I was sitting in the front row on this one because I just wanted to see how it looked. Sharp picture, motion looks a little bit better. It does not look as good a motion as the DLP stuff. I mean, you can still see a little bit of shuddering on it.
It's a JVC. It's
a JVC.
Be good at what it's really good at.
And so this is kind of that thing I've been noticing on my JVC is like when you see an outdoor scene, it just, unless you're on a smaller screen with a very high brightness setting, outdoors just doesn't look like outdoors. It looks like dusk. It never looks like bright sunlight in a desert or bright sunlight outdoors. But once you get away from that and you get to a dusk scene, you get to a sunset, you get to indoors, it looks great.
Now, some people will say you don't want to feel like you're outdoors when you're watching a movie.
Possibly, but I mean, it's just like the colors just don't. It doesn't feel outdoors. Like when you see something in the sun, you see something in a desert. It just doesn't look like it should feel. I guess is the way to see that.
Is the better way maybe to say that you feel like it doesn't have the luminance to achieve what HDR is trying to achieve?
That could very well be true because we didn't watch any SDR content on it.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if this was already in their comment or because I was hanging out with the JVC guys the night before, but Godzilla versus Kong was playing in there. And I mentioned that I really liked that clip. And then I came in there and I saw it the next morning.
It's a great clip. It's a great demo clip.
And again, it's that same one. It's like you watch that Godzilla versus Kong fight, and it looks really good on this. The blacks are there. The detail in the blacks are right there. But when you watch that breath weapon pan across the screen gets kind of white.
Now, just to clarify for people, because I don't want people to think that we're saying that JVC is bad. There's always a give and take. We talk about this all the time. The give and take in this situation, when we're comparing this against the QL series, specifically as an example, against the JVCs, are the QLs have much more bright. They've got a lot more lumen capability, but you're trading native and ANSI contrast for that brightness, because you're going to have somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 to 1 native contrast, and ANSI's somewhere in the ballpark, I'm guessing 200 to 1, maybe 300,
maybe 3.
Probably
better than that.
No, that's on the 5 and 7. On these ones, I think it's still like 350.
I think it's 3. I don't know what it is. So I take back what I said. I don't know what the ANSI figure is.
But native contrast is more in the 3,000 range, maybe even as high as 33 or 35, and the ANSI is lower. I'm convinced the ANSI is a little lower than the LS 12,000. So maybe 350 to 400 in that range versus 450 on the LS 12,000.
All right. Well, we'll go with Jonathan because he lives with them every day. But that you're trading those specs on the JVC for insane native contrast for those projectors.
And I think you can see this a little bit. And sorry, Bob, I think you can see exactly what you're talking about, Ryan, in the Epson video that I mentioned on AVS Forum earlier, that 35-minute video, because it showcases all those things that both Bob and Ryan are talking about right now. It's worth watching in that context if you have questions about that.
So this highlights, get a projector to do what you need it to do, not because you think it's the best. You get it as a tool to complement your room to deliver the best possible image in your environment.
Right.
Not everything can do that. It's really important to get a piece of equipment to operate as a tool that works cohesively with what you have.
And so watching content on this one, there were some sunset scenes, there were some planet Earth scenes. Every one of those looks stunning, and I love it. And I have an NZ8. I see that kind of same picture all the time. It looks really good in all those ones. But when you see that outside scene and the brightness, it just doesn't, it's not the same, like purity of the white doesn't look the same, doesn't look as intense. And, seeing it have some very bright projectors like Ryan's projector. When that breath weapon hits in Godzilla versus Kong and that Christie's at like 100%, I mean, you're diving from the floor and covering your eyes. It's so bright. Like it just looks like you're going to get irradiated by that thing and blown away. This one, it looks good. The darks look great. There's an incredible amount of contrast in all the blacks. It's just the bright scenes don't have the same impact that they do on some of the other ones. But that's also, and that's my comment on this one, is because it's on a 165-inch screen in a room that wasn't fully dark. When I watched mine at home, I'm on a 120-inch positive gain screen, and that's enough brightness. It looks different because I'm on a smaller screen and I get a brighter image.
Yep.
When I run it at 70 nits and I, 0 laser power, -6 iris, I get that same image. I think that screen was probably too big for what I personally would want that projector to do. And that's kind of that issue with running into 3,000 lumen projectors versus TVs now when you're hitting that size. On a side note,
very much of a difference between the NZ900 and the NZ700 based on, it says main theater and side theaters were the.
I didn't get to go in the side theater. I just didn't have time. On a side note, the JVC guys are amazing. They're super cool. They're a lot of fun to hang out with. And I spent 4 hours playing board games with them on Thursday night.
So, all right, firmware. You asked some questions about the firmware.
Won't be coming to the older ones. They kind of didn't know some of the questions specifics about it. I wish they had, because the software engineers that knew more about it weren't there, but not coming to the old ones. We did have the new one on that one. They were using the CMD did look like it was improvement. I think overall it's going to be a better version. I didn't have a remote to play with it and see it A/B. But those who have 8-900s, and it's only on 8-900s, will have some advancements coming for them.
Did they say what the advancements were?
It's in the file for it. It's new vivid mode, a better frame adapt version for it. It's updated CMD. I'm missing one thing. A new version of AutoCal too that I guess allows you to set easier set custom white points.
Oh, that's good.
I unfortunately asked them a bunch of technical questions related to that, and the guys I talked with didn't know that one because the ones I needed to talk to weren't there. But it was pretty neat. I did a little bit of distributed audio stuff. So this is more talking about kind of that lifestyle, adding music to everything. This was the Sonance demo room. So you're in this room and you don't see any speakers. They had kind of in ceiling, in wall, hidden stuff. They were piping these 12-inch subs that attach to a hose that goes into like a vent on the wall, and doing these kind of hidden in ceiling speakers. So in the room, the speakers are actually in like that. So it's a speaker up in a box that kind of radiates down into this like 3.5-inch opening. And it sounded pretty good. Like you got great distributed audio, really nice, like room fill, good feel with absolutely no visible motion to it. Sony, I went over to next.
So can I stop you there for a minute, Bob?
Yes.
I would expect that to not sound good, but you thought it sounded pretty decent. I mean, is it just because you had multiple ports and so it filled in the room, sort of like just having multiple speakers? And
yeah, so they played like 2 speakers and then 4
ambient
speakers and then filled it up more. So I mean, it was not just 2 in the ceiling. Like there were like 6 or 8 rows in the ceiling. There were subfills on the floor, and it was what you can do by adding multiple rows of subs, multiple speakers everywhere to kind of create like a full fill in a room. Like you just can't get away with like 2 in ceiling speakers. But they had,
I get that. As you start adding quantity, yeah, that makes sense.
And it had a really nice like distributed feel for it. I mean, the room like sounded really good as it got energized.
I like those fake windows.
Yes. So these were the TVs on the side with motorized shades over them. They have talked about a lot of Sony products. They have these like life size or these outdoor scenes in their product line that sync up with your local time. So if you put these below grade, like as daylight changes outside, it changes with inside. So sunset in your basement window, fake window, is the same size time as sunset outside for real, and sunrise. It's, I guess, cool-ish if you want to do it, but like everything else, like I see all these things and you get all these really cool concepts, and I just wonder how many people actually continue to use those day in and day out after they get it and the novelty wears off. This video wall, the second you walk into this space, it feels like you walked outside.
Which wall is this?
It's their older one. It's like 8 or 10 years old. I can't remember the model number on it. It was outside in the kiosk and I didn't take a picture of it, unfortunately. It's $450,000 for a 193-inch screen. It's got a glossy coating, so it does a pretty good job, but it is reflective, as you can clearly see off of it. But it's hot. I mean, like I'm standing in behind 2 rows of couches, and I can feel the heat radiating off this wall.
Oh boy!
Plasmas were panels.
Right. It's like walking by my old plasma TV after it's been on for a while. Like you feel that heat.
Entire room.
That's where your sunburn came from, I think.
The
Bob was just irradiated by LED walls.
The speakers in this room were Wisdom Audio. It was the first time I ever heard Wisdoms too, and those did sound really good. But I mean, this is that thing on with a little bit of lights.
Cool.
It's a beautiful picture.
What wall is that? Who makes this?
It's Sony's.
Yeah.
They've had
that
it for
wall for how old it is. It's really good.
It's like 8 years old, I guess. This thing's been out for commercially available. It's a beautiful looking video wall. It was
So pause on this. Why are we looking at an 8 or 9 year old wall? Is there just not that much turnover in these products? Or
Sony
just
just
like
hasn't
Vision
updated
5
it.
or something?
they still sell this.
No,
And
Sony just hasn't updated it, and I mean, maybe they do, but it's like some manufacturers update their stuff all the time, and some don't.
it's a good looking product. It's beautiful. It's got a really, really nice image.
One difference with this one is it's gloss.
It is gloss. And yes, and it does throw a really nice picture, but it's very reflective. So that's why it was only open in the back. And I mean, it's like watching a reflective TV in your living room. If you have the side lights on, you'll see the reflections off the screen. And you can see on this one, I don't know if that's detailed enough.
MW says it's not the same screen from 8 years ago. It's been upgraded. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
And I would hope so.
But it was a very good looking picture. I really like that. Was the best looking video wall that I saw, but that was also because it was an enclosed space. It was very bright, but it was also probably the least efficient video wall I saw as far as heat output.
Well, don't have to heat your basement.
No, it's just, you just feel the heat on this wall. That was,
well, I guess that's why they can keep it 8 years old if there's not anything better at this point.
No, MW says they've upgraded it.
The guy there said that, or I guess maybe it's been upgraded, but that's the same wall they've had available, maybe same model or pricing or whatnot. But he said it's been available for like 8 or 10 years. I went to, I think as MW asked earlier, I went to Acoustics. And this is the Acoustics room. So you got the front of the room with a projector that was not really a focus. So I don't know which projector it was. I didn't even ask.
Heimdall.
Was it a Heimdall in there?
Mm-hmm.
They never turned the lights off, so I don't really want to comment about the projected
It's
image.
not the focus.
It's not the focus. So this is the side wall. Basically, every wall looked like this. There were 3 of these line arrays with a kind of a subunit below them. They all played
for anybody
together.
that doesn't know, Acoustics is primarily a commercial company.
Yeah,
they're not residential, but they're moving more and more and more into residential.
It's kind of, they tout this system as like a lifestyle system, and they talk about it for like, you know, your recording space. The number 2 use they said for this was in for your yacht. But here's a better look of the sidewall and what those individual units look like. And then here's the ceiling where it's these individual cubes that use the same subs on the floor. And if you notice right here, there are 4 microphones on the ceiling.
Why would they have microphones on the ceiling, Bob?
That was a taco. So they have this kind of like custom reverbs and room treatment option. So you turn the system off and it sounds like a well-damped, overly damped room. And it's a really cool feature. So like the person talks and it sounds like you're in an overly absorbed home theater like most people have, where we have too much absorption, not enough diffraction. The room sounds kind of dead, not a lot of decay time, or not a lot of decay in the voices. But you can program this system to use the microphones in the ceiling to create real-time delay in the room to change the liveliness of the room. And like as the person starts speaking, you can turn the system on and his voice becomes more reverberant, gets more concert hall. It's like playing with the DSP modes on your old AVR, but real time with what's going on in the room. And it's kind of this neat little feature. They talk about how, you know, they play a 20 or 30 minute, you know, infomercial about the system, about how you could use this during your day, you know, wake up, have the sound move around you as it tracks you around the room, go from one wall to the next. You can play your stereo on this wall because every wall is set up identical. So you can do things on one wall, you can do things on the other wall. So it was 12 arrays and 12 10-inch subs in that room, and then the ceiling stuff. It's all done through these custom DSP units. It was kind of neat effects, but it was really gimmicky. So I don't know how much you'd ever actually use something like that. Again, it was one of those ones where it's a really neat concept, but I just don't know how much it would work in a real-time space. So it's like you're doing yoga, you want this to sit this way. You've got your friends over for a jam session. You're going to play music in this room. You want a little bit more concert hall effect. So you're playing in this different space. You can remodel the room as you're using it. Really neat concept. I just don't know how much you'd actually use it.
Unless you're on a yacht.
Unless you're on a yacht where it's your only space. Yeah, it was cool. It was just kind of this odd gimmick. I mean, there was not a lot of bass, but I mean, it's what it is. I mean, it's a big room with not a lot of speakers. It wasn't set up as a home theater space. The JBL room.
Were the Everest speakers in the JBL room, or were they using M2s?
They were using whatever those are.
That doesn't look like
SE
either.
SCL ones, SSW twos.
Interesting.
It's their synthesis line.
Yes, they were all. It was all synthesis stuff. Maybe like 3s and 4s or something.
The M2 is in the commercial line. It's not in the normal synthesis line, if I remember correctly.
So this was a big room that was using the JBL projector or the Epson projector on a very large screen, and it was on an SI screen that I don't think I'd ever seen before.
This one was like a 200-inch screen.
It was a very big screen. I sat in the front row on this one, and I don't know if if it was the screen or if it was just running into the limitations of what the projector can do on a very large screen. But the image looked grainy in here. But I was sitting very close, so it could have been a combination of an AT screen or just that projector running out of resolution on a very large one. They played Mission Impossible, which didn't look that great on that one.
But you're not in this room for the video.
No.
So let's just throw that away.
They played the whatever the Tom Hanks one where he was a battleship captain.
Greyhound?
Yes, that sounds right.
That was a great movie.
They played Fury. They played GT.
What scene in Fury did they play?
Where they're attacking the tank in the tree line.
Really?
Yes.
That seems we thought about that, but we agreed it was too violent.
Not so the one where they're just shooting into the tree line, not the one where the tanks are chasing each other around.
Okay.
So it says
not tank destroyed, but the one where they're assaulting the tree line with the
yes, they've got the couple of tanks and they're firing into the tree line.
I know what you're talking about now. Okay.
They played Gran Turismo and they played F1. It's a big room. I thought the vocals were just kind of okay. They were a little bit understated. The bass was light because they didn't run a lot of subs in a room this size compared to everything else. The heights were kind of hard to pick out. I sat front row left to center, so I wasn't definitely in the best spot in the room either. But I mean, there was nothing that really stood out, but I think they only had maybe 4 of those things of the dual, maybe 15s, dual 12s maybe in that room. So there just wasn't as well loaded as you could get out of that. So it wasn't kind of the best showing there. Paradigm did in their room. Unfortunately I didn't take a picture of them outside, but they were running these invisibles in there. And so basically that's the speaker behind sheetrock. So that's the speaker, but it's mounted under a piece of sheetrock.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other companies that are doing that. Paradigm does not have these out yet, but they'll be out either.
I think Sonance does this. Origin does this.
Yep.
And there's another manufacturer that does this. They're good for what they are. It's an application specific thing, needs to meet a specific aesthetic.
They struggle with volume. There was not a lot of mid bass, but if you look at what was actually in this room, that was it. It was these. It was those little bitty subs. There was no center channels. So they were running Phantom Center. It was a 444. So they had 4 ceiling speakers. And they were running in-wall subs in the back.
Go back to that top speak. What is going on there? What is the back? Those top in-walls? No, sorry, the heights. Down.
This?
What are those?
Those are air vents.
Oh, okay. I was very
6.5-inch audio speakers.
Like, what is happening?
No, so these are the only ones that were on. They put centers in, but they didn't run them. They were just running a 444 system in this room. So they did have some centers, but they weren't. This is a sealed overly damped room too. And so that was their air vents. And then these are their rear subs. There's a better picture of it, and you kind of see what's back here. There was a really cool picture of them outside, and I don't know. I thought I took it, but I evidently didn't. That was a pizza that I ate.
Can you explain that cover a little bit more? Like what they're saying, see nothing, hear not
So
everything?
this speaker is mounted entirely behind your sheetrock. It mounts to the sheetrock.
But how could that? I mean, I can't even imagine that sounding good, and yet it was.
So, I mean, honestly, these had pretty darn good vocals, and I honestly think the vocals might have been better listening to this through sheetrock than I got out of the JBLs.
That doesn't even make any sense.
It's probably EQ.
I mean, it was EQ. They were running the Anthem unit in here. They had some EQ on it. These are not bad for like a small spacer where you don't want to hear them. I mean, they obviously were stressing when they tried to play loud, but I mean, it was a really cool like product that the line is starting to come out for people who want to throw speakers next to TV in tight spaces. And the tweeters in this kind of metallic thing that sits right up against it. The dome obviously doesn't touch it, but it radiates right into it, and so the whole surface in front of it basically, it gets excited and radiates the sound. It was neat. I only got to spend a little bit of time in there because I was starting to rush at that point in time. But they've got an E85 and an E. Or they've got a 6.5 inch and an 8.5 inch woofer version. SVS.
Are those more like an activator where it's just shaking the sheetrock, or is it literally just like a speaker that's behind a sheetrock?
It's a speaker that's behind the sheetrock.
I can't fathom it.
You literally mud the drywall is mud over it.
Yeah.
No joke.
See if you can find Ryan. See if you can find a picture of the Paradigm Invisible that is an actual picture of the speaker itself. I don't know if they're out in press releases yet. This is the SVS 17. They had it on display. I thought the cutout version was really cool. For anyone who wants to see the inside of it, there's the length of their port, so you can see the actual port start inside the cabinet, continues down, around, out the front. It's got a very long port on it. There's their plate amp.
There are no pictures of it yet.
I screwed up and didn't take a picture.
Loser.
I know. I thought I had, but I evidently did not push the button. That was neat. So this is the SVS space. So, I mean, those are the evolutions that we've had, or the Ultra that we've had before. A couple of the same subs sitting on the ground. It shook, it rattled. They were playing off discs. So, like, I was there for a moment.
Why do they play off discs?
They were playing off Blu-rays. So
why?
There's the folder of their Blu-rays and their Blu-ray player.
Lightscape had like 50 units at the show. Why did
I don't know. Maybe they didn't have good Ethernet or internet where they were because they're in the middle of a space.
Maybe
didn't have a cable. I'm not really sure. I went to the Phase Tech area, and I think I took a picture of them once more, like what you're thinking.
Are we
of, Jonathan.
Almost done?
Yes, I've got like 2 more and I'm done.
Okay.
So Phase Tech, we're Sound Tube. They do a lot of commercial install. They do outdoor speakers, some like architectural speakers, and a little bit of home theater stuff. The Phase Tech stuff is very inexpensive. And then they've got Darts as their higher in line. They used to be out of Kansas City.
They did.
And now they're either Salt Lake City, I think, or Florida, one of the two. They've had places in both. But they were doing a little screening room in there too. We watched a couple of clips from movies that weren't very good. So Superman and the new Jurassic Park.
God, the new Jurassic Park was bad.
Yeah. They had
public service announcement.
So bad.
So, I mean, here's kind of what they were running in the front.
It was one of those movies that I looked at my wife and go, do I feel dumber for having watched that?
We watched the scene with the children trying to escape the T-Rex when the lady was inflating the boat.
Oh.
It was terrible.
What about
Superman? We watched the super whistle.
The T-Rex's Houdini act where you're looking at it, you look away, and then it's gone.
Yes, I saw that. I was like,
what animal that just disappears.
I have never seen that movie before, and that was the first time seeing either of these scenes. I'm like, this is just stupid. But anyway, they had these little sub arrays in the corner. These are the Darts speakers.
How big are those sub drivers?
Not very.
8s.
That's what they look like. I could look it up on that. So that's like 4 8s, I think, per unit. These are kind of small tweeters with small little woofers with a ribbon. They're not particularly large. I didn't take an extra picture of that. I do have some. But those, the Phase Tech system that they were displaying in there, again, for people looking to get it for entry level stuff, the entire phase tech system, not the Dart system, but the phase tech system they started off with was, I think, $9,000
All in.
all in, not including the processor. And I mean, just for speakers, all in. And that's retail. That's not even like dealer price, because I won't say that, but like that was $9,000 like retail and all their speakers. The other one was, I think, was like 70, 75. The subs were what they were. I mean, they just don't have the same output that you're going to get out of the bigger stuff.
To be expected.
The tweeters on the speakers, I mean, we're running out of headroom, but they're small. They're just not a big enough unit to drive loud. If you're on a smaller size thing, they're not a bad. I mean, it wasn't a bad sound, especially for a good price. I saw this guy afterwards.
Not Jonathan approved for 9K. Noted.
Yes.
And not small enough drivers. Jonathan's are smaller.
So I saw the Sim 2 for the first time. They were doing a dual stack projector. So it was 14,000 lumens, two 7,000 lumen projectors playing at the same time. They were doing some spiel about how one does like the highlights and the other one does the
okay, that's
the darks,
cool. Yeah,
to try to preserve detail. However, they covered the bottom one and the image looked the same, so I don't really know how exactly that was working. But that was what the technology that they were trying to display was, where like one was displaying different parts of the image, and the high one was displaying the high intensity stuff, and the low one was doing more detail. The lights stayed on in the room most of the time, so it was kind of hard to see a lot of things in this. I saw a lot of rainbows here too, because it's single chip DLP, and I learned that those just don't work with my eyes. They don't like to give you a lot of information about the projector. Other than, I mean, it had good motion. The color looked nice. It was pretty sharp. Two projector system. These were stupidly quiet. I mean, like quieter than the Epson quiet. I was sitting, I mean, this is my seat right here. I was sitting in this seat right next to those projectors. I couldn't hear them. And I'm 2 foot away from them.
interesting.
They had the Paradigm Founder series in the room that sounded pretty good for what they were in that size room. They don't specify content because they don't believe in content, or they don't specify contrast because they don't believe in contrast measurements.
Okay.
So I don't know what the contrast of the system is. I don't know what the contrast of their multi-system is supposed to be because they don't give that information.
Somebody who says, and this might be snide, but somebody who says they don't believe in contrast probably doesn't have great contrast numbers. Like
I mean, it's a single chip DLP, so I mean, you know what it's going to be.
Yeah,
there's just no really getting away from that. I thought the image looked pretty good, but I saw rainbows, so I mean, it is what it is. There. I went to one other room, but I don't know if I have pictures of it. But other stuff that I didn't do, some video walls. This is if you're talking about how you try to get one of these video walls put together. I mean, there's a whole array of movable magnets that you stick these tiles to.
Movable magnets. I would think they would be very much not movable magnets. So
I said the tiles are movable on the magnets. So you have this fixed grid, and you try to put them magnetically attach them to it, so you can like wiggle them around a little bit. So I mean, it looks like just basically a grid of magnets that you stick that tile onto. This is the A-wall mounting system. And you can kind of see over here. There's your individual tiles pieced together.
So Bob, you've talked about video walls on several occasions, and that your favorite was the Sony.
The Sony looked the best as far as
distance?
But the Sony looked the best because I was in a dedicated room that was blocked off from the exterior light. There were other ones that looked good, but I mean, the contrast is not the best on them. Some of the other ones had much better contrast, but they're displayed in big, bright, well-lit areas.
You showed a picture of the Quantum. How is it?
I'll get there in a second.
So specifically, my question though is how close are you before you start seeing some of those artifacts you showed in your pictures and that we know exist with the lines, the grids, the pixel alignment, all that kind of stuff?
It's one of those ones. So it's one of those ones where you don't really notice it until you see it. So if you walk by one of
Can
these
you
video
see it
walls,
at 6 foot away or 3 foot away or 10 foot away, or what distance for these things?
so like that like the misalignment stuff. When you walk by a video wall, you look at it like that's a great picture. And then you start to walk a little closer, it still looks pretty good. And then once you get up and you see where the seams are, even as you back up, you can kind of still see where that seam was now that you know where to look for it. Even when they're pretty well laid out. A lot of the time, you just don't notice it, though. If you're more than 6 feet away, you're not going to see them for most of these, unless something's just not set up right.
Okay.
I
I mean, that's fine. 6 foot away, that's further than most people would ever be, in regular use case.
So, I mean, that's a 129-inch screen right there. That's a 197-inch giant screen. And they look good. I mean, there's a lot of like good looking video walls. They're getting cheaper. I mean, this one looked, was it another 162-inch screen? I want to say this one was like $50,000. And
so stop there.
Yes.
162-inch screen, $50,000. How would you place that in the market perspective for, say, a projector in that realm, a Barco or something that might be in that realm, a Christie or something that might be in that realm? How would it, contrast wise, color reproduction wise, quality wise, are we there? Are these video walls there now? Or are they still a step back?
It depends on what you're going to want. And there's that big issues on what depends on what you're going to want to do. If you're going to want to be in a theater, like a lot of us have, where you're focusing on massive amounts of bass, where you're focusing on high output audio, that's not going to work because there's no place to put your speakers. It's not acoustically transparent. You can't put big subs behind it. You can't put your LCR behind it. But the thing you can do with this, that you can't do with those other ones, is you can turn the lights on.
How does it compare? Let me rephrase my question, because I think I might have steered you.
And there were also some like units that had top and bottom speakers. Like, there was Purcell had, I think, it was Purcell that had above and below screen center channels options. But the new walls are giving really good color reproduction. They're bright. They're not as bright as the single panel TVs. The single panel TVs, everyone I saw looked better.
That's where I was directing towards. Also,
and these were all kind of in shaded areas. They just didn't look as good, other than that one Christie wall, which the vertical Christie wall.
That thing was insane.
It was insane. None of them I saw that. And I saw like, yeah, I even the Quantum one. I mean, it just didn't look as good as a TV. But I mean, like there's that 162-inch video wall right there. $56,000 for MSRP.
1,200 nits, 12,001 contrast ratio. MW saying in chat, P3 can be 100% on these things.
Mm-hmm.
Which is better than most projectors.
It's better than most. Yep. Unless you're on RGB laser projectors. I mean, they're getting there, and that's kind of why I worry about projection.
If you put speakers behind drywall, you can put them behind a TV, right?
I don't believe that's going to be far off. Yes, I don't believe that's going to be very far off between like bending wave transducers and like a self-panel excitation. I think that could very well be in the future on those, and there you're going to start pushing limits on where reflective projection is going to be.
But I think also projectors have and are getting better. So I think I just want the industry to continually move forward.
Yes, I just don't feel like projectors aren't coming forward as fast as TVs and video walls are.
No.
They're just not. I mean, like here's this picture right there. So take a look at that. I mean, you don't see, and I can zoom in on that, but I mean,
it's not just sharp enough for us. You're probably getting a lot better picture than we're getting on the stream side of this feed.
But I mean, like, yeah, you just don't notice
sharpness. Ignore the sharpness. You don't see any seams.
You don't see any seams. You don't see anything else until you get
great. The brightness is great. The contrast is great. It looks good.
Now you get up right on top of that wall and you see it. But
how
I mean,
close
you got to
is
be
this picture taken?
A foot or two.
Okay.
With like zoomed into my camera. So, I mean, like that's that same thing. Like you don't see this when you're further away. And again, this is quick show layout stuff. Like you wouldn't have that particular gap in a permanent install because you take the time to align that out. So this is them doing a good job with a product that's a quickly set out unit. The Quantum. I mean, looked good, but it had a little bit of covering on it. This one was not aligned quite the best on some of those ones. You could see that noticing because it was off by a pixel on kind of one of those lines, which unfortunately lets you see the gap where things were just slightly off. But I mean, it's a good picture right there for the size that is. It's not inexpensive.
No.
But it's a really good picture. I had one other video wall one. It was so the lunar walls, and then now there's one that's crazy bright.
Yeah.
That's blowing a lot of stuff out though, unless that's your camera.
It's my camera blown out.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, unless I didn't pick the good picture, but it's same kind of mounting system on those. There's a better one that's not blown out because I was further away and it wasn't displaying white. I mean, white's tough on those ones to capture with a cell phone camera when you don't have exposure control. But I mean, that's a gigantic video wall.
This one's got rocks in front of it instead of plants.
They're to have fun when the ports play to make them dance.
It was really pretty. And they're not hot like some of those other ones are. It was a good looking product.
What was in the sign? I lost track of it. Did it say lunar landing thing? What was on the
lunar walls? And that's
lunar walls expand.
Like lunar rock. Okay.
And then it was something just video walls. Just video walls.
Let's do our ABCs. Up.
Oh my God. Yes, thank you. So that's the same one. This is an outdoor rated one.
There are the plants again.
Yep.
I mean, you can tell that's a good image there.
Outdoor, I can fully get behind.
Right. So I mean, yeah, look at that. That I got a better.
Great.
I got a much better picture on that one.
But there's plants again. They didn't do the rocks. Darn it.
There's the plants down there.
Man.
But take a look at that number right there.
4,000 nits, 3,000 watts.
Yeah. 3,300 watts for that 130-inch diagonal video wall.
That's a lot of heat.
That's a lot of heat. And that's why they get so bright. I mean, that's a lot of brightness over a very large area. But look at what those big projectors are taking for that amount of brightness on that kind of, and not even close to that amount of brightness.
Yeah, but I mean, with a projector, that much wattage, you usually put in a different room. It's got air handling. This is a TV going in your sitting area, and that's
this is going on your outdoor like patio wall.
A 3,000 watts. Well, okay, that one's outdoor, but 3,000 watt space heater, man. That's nothing.
And that's why I said, like, I walked into that Sony room and I could just feel the heat coming from the front of the room.
Yeah.
I mean, it was noticeable, and I was probably 20 feet away from that.
Some of them
that
are
TV.
really hot.
But you have to get that much heat out of it, that's much space out of it. This one looked great. In the enclosed space that it was in. I mean, great blacks, really fast motion. They were playing video games on it. It looked really cool. And like, these are they're getting, I mean, the good ones were, I mean, you were hearing $650,000, $700,000, just ready to ship tomorrow. But I mean, they're beautiful, but they're still very, very expensive. And then you go on the opposite side and you go to something like this.
So Derek comments this on this video wall topic. See, Bob, if you agree with this or if you notice the similar effect. He says there's a strange effect on the walls when he moves his eyes across the image, almost like a pixel grid, or like the refresh rate was kind of slow. You had mentioned the refresh rate seemed not synced. You think that's the same artifact?
There are certain times when you look at these things and the pixels and the panels will be slightly out of sync. And I don't know if that's just a setup issue, if that's a long-term issue. And depending upon the way you sit at a light viewing angle, and then a lot of that's just because there's a lot of reflective light in these spaces where you can kind of get flashes of how you see a grid, like the panel grid structure. On a lot of those ones, you don't notice it, but if you look in certain ones, you can see where the panel doesn't necessarily sync across. And when you take pictures of them, you can see certain panels being out of sync with other ones by just a refresh rate, tick away. You go here to the TCL booth, and man, you look at these pictures, these TVs, They're beautiful. And they're not, the prices are coming way down. That 115-inch TV was gorgeous out there in full bright light. Great blacks, great picture. And the prices just keep coming down more and more on these things. So it's hard to say, like, go out and buy this big projector for your space when you can get this for, the same price before long, is the same price as a good projector and screen. And you can't beat, like, the projector is just not going to do this. And you can turn the lights on. The Samsung,
I kept
units.
hearing that this Samsung was insane.
This was the smaller one, but I mean, that's a 100-inch TV.
The 115 was supposedly just ridiculous.
You mean that one?
Yes.
Unbelievably beautiful TV. It looked incredible.
It's 30 grand.
So these different TVs like this, I am skeptical to a degree that they're approaching OLED tech, and it's going to be impossible to judge that in a brightly lit convention center. They're brighter than OLED. That's fair. I'll give you that. But that infinite contrast on OLED is its own little trick.
Well, but the micro LEDs, the micro RGB LEDs are the same thing. Each one of them is an individual each pixel is an RGB LED, and they can turn all of them off.
Okay.
So it's not separate backlighting.
All the terminology, I'm not a big TV fanatic. I'm a little behind the times. Like, I have a mini QLED TV upstairs, and I've said it before.
No, this is not the same thing as this. This is the next stuff coming out. These are next year, I want to say. I don't think these are available yet this year.
Okay, I'm all in if it's that infinite contrast.
But you got the OLEDs there. I mean, just look at that OLED sitting on the wall, like the picture of that OLED sitting on the wall. Like, you can't beat these pictures. And as they get bigger and the prices get lower, they just look unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the tough thing for the projection side. Other than the fact that, like, if you're dedicated on audio, you're stuck with acoustically transparent screens. But until we can start getting more brightness out of projectors, it's going to be tough. Like, it's just trying to stay in that market. There's so much brightness on these TVs, and they get so dark. Integrated, small stuff. That's Priscilla subs. Anything big things I missed? Cricks.
I think we're good.
Here's a good one.
Or not.
I'm just saying, like, that's what, like, this space looks like.
Huge, enormous.
It's big.
Right. So that's me standing in the middle, or one end of the middle. So it goes that far the other way, all the way down.
And there's multiple rooms as well. Question mark?
Not big rooms. There's a whole other floor down below this of big sound rooms.
Yeah.
So there's more than this.
But it's mostly this big convention floor. But it's the Colorado Convention Center is a very big space.
All right.
It really isn't like back to back or shoulder to shoulder in any of these pictures. Was there ever any rush, or was this?
Depends on the rooms. Over by the sound rooms where we were, it absolutely was.
I took this picture. So everything that was popular or incredibly expensive was on the right side of the convention center as you went in. The middle was all the big name convention side. This was the small, like, touch panel side. I was on the other side when I took this picture. So, like, this is maybe the middle right there. And that's kind of what it looked like all throughout the middle space, where they're the big group of people. I just happened to have been, when I took this, all the way on the far side where it was like app stuff, touch panels, lighting switches, the relays that Ryan, who makes those relays that you put in?
Shelly.
The Shelly relays were, like, behind that one. So this was all small companies, and I just happened to, like, take a shot back down the other way. So any of the big booths, they were pretty full. It was a really neat kind of experience in there.
All right. Bob, really appreciate you going through all of that. You were my eyes and ears during all of this, so that was awesome. Because Jonathan just said, no, I don't want to go.
Here we go. Yeah.
I don't want to go. I'm not into AV. I don't even know why he's here. He doesn't like this stuff. No interest.
I mean,
Oh,
this was neat from an AV standpoint of like what's available and what's out there that's not just home theater.
Yeah.
I mean, it's stuff that can be applied to it. There was a good amount of home theater stuff there, but a lot of what you're going to see there was not relevant for like
No.
for home theater.
No.
It's good for smart home and like integration stuff, or like maybe this thing would work upstairs, this thing would work in the basement, this thing would work in the kitchen. But that's a lot of what this is because it's tailored for custom integrators.
Yep. Let's do that. Yeah, this. We did it. We went through CEDIA, or at least the stuff that Bob saw. We definitely didn't go through the whole thing.
You know, that was just a fraction of
That
Bob's
was
picture.
just a fraction. Oh
Yeah,
God,
I deleted about half of them and tried to condense down and
that was great.
organize what I could.
That was great. That was a lot of stuff for people to be able to see what it was like, the rooms, and talk about what you felt like, and go through your notes and all that. I think that's fantastic.
It was a really cool experience. I'm really glad I went. I wish I thought like I was like, oh, 2 days I'll get through it. No, maybe I'll get bored. I was not. I could have gone 2 more days and just gotten through everything, maybe. Because you just kind of find out after that first amount of time what you're missing or want to go back and touch on, and you don't have time to go back and like ask questions and find more out, because if you don't keep going, you're going to miss it.
Right. All right. So questions. This was a super chat that we missed. We got a few questions to go through, and then I got to go to bed because I am tired.
Oh.
Drew Arredondo, $10 super chat. Much appreciated. Never expected. Said a little birdie told me nothing new coming from AdVR. MV Extreme Mark III worth upgrading to the MK from the MK2. It just depends on what you're using it for. Mainly the MK3 getting the HDMI 2.1 input card, which also has HDMI power on. So the unit can now power on if it detects an incoming HDMI signal. But Drew, I'm happy to talk to you about this afterwards. I will have to talk about your use case and whether or not you think it's worthwhile. We'll talk about that. Next question. Margaret Wood, builder recommended left corner or right corner of the back wall. Personally prefer middle of the back wall. Will that pose any problems?
So the other chat with this,
Right
yes.
Hey guys, still mid-build of my house in Zimbabwe, roof level. So in the theater, 21 by 14, the door is in the middle of the back wall. I've been told this isn't ideal. Wanted to confirm with y'all.
As much as I hate to say it, I'm going to wind up having to put the door in the middle of my back wall also.
I think ideal place is between one of your side channels. Ideally between front wide and
yes.
side
If you can get in from a side, it's your best spot. But if you're going straight into your theater and your theater is going to go forward, you're going to have to treat the door both acoustically and reflectively, at least on the interior surface. And then you're going to have to really watch light gaps, because any light coming in from the outside is going to be a direct bleed to a projected surface if that's what you're doing.
So light bleed isn't a huge issue. You can fix that pretty easily with just some
foam.
Yeah, some door seal, like just cheap stripping even. From a usability standpoint, so he's been told it's not a good idea. It might not be a bad idea, right? Because if you had someone coming in and out of the theater while you're watching a movie, it's okay. If there's light outside, you're bleeding it onto the screen. Absolutely. But you're not necessarily seeing them leave if there's no lights on outside, and it might not be distracting to other people, like kids run in and out type thing.
It's a tough room flow because you have to come in behind the seating surfaces, and you've got to walk around. So you're going to come right back in the back. If you're in the middle of the back wall, you have to go around a seating or either way around it. And then you're going to have to go up and around. So it's a harder on a room flow standpoint. But if that's where you have to put the door, that might just be where you have to put the door. The advantage on a back wall, putting it in the center, is that you can put your rear surrounds on either side of the door. And then you can put rear subs, and you have space on either side of that to put rear subs, rear surrounds that are not going to be in the way. If you put a door on either the left or the right side, that door is going to be in the way of where you're going to be potentially be putting rear audio if you're going that crazy into it. So just watch where that space is. It will give you a better flow through the room as far as walking access, but it might block certain positions for where you want to put things.
All right. Super chat. Alex Evans drops $50 USD. Much appreciated. I'm actually texting him. So Alex is the owner of Atlanta Home Theater. He's a great guy, a good friend, and he actually made a good point. And I'm going to read what he texted me because I think it's important that we highlight this. It's specifically about the eclipse. So Alex works a lot with Christie, and I think it's just he wants to make sure that people understand the eclipse, because there was actually somebody talking on Facebook today about how the eclipse didn't look like infinite black like people say it does. So I just want to, I think this is a good comment. That I'm going to read it verbatim. So I'd like to point out the eclipse is OLED black. The challenge becomes the white screen itself. White is very reflective surface, as we all know. So what's happening is the white is scattering the illuminated part of the screen, scattering part of the illuminated screen. However, if you notice, OLED and all TV panels are black. So that emitted light, although it still has energy, comes off blacker. You can only truly go as dark as the background you are putting the image on.
Very correct.
So that's part of it. And then the other part is any reflected light coming off the side walls or coming into the room, which is coming through the HVAC in the back of the room, underneath the doors, reflecting off of people's shirts.
Bob's white shirt.
My white shirt.
His white teeth, you know, his sunburn. It's all of that stuff. It's contaminating the infinite black because it is able to turn things off. It's got 6 chips. It's able to do that. It's just much more difficult to do in projection. So I think it's really important that people do understand how it's working, though we can't really take advantage of it because if you are in the room, you are a reflective surface and you are thereby contaminating the infinite black.
And that's not just an issue for the eclipse. That's an issue for every projected image. Yes. You will get a better performance out of your projector no matter what it is if you were to go and fully treat your room. I mean, I'm not...
Or if you're not in it. You know, that's what we should really do.
I'm not saying that you need to line your entire floor, your entire room with velvet and only wear velvet clothes and like a velvet hood when you put it on, and you know,
okay, you can stand outside the room next to your speakers that are behind the drywall.
Really, but I mean, any bit, like any sidewall reflection, any carpet reflection, especially rear wall reflections, all that throws light back onto the screen, which then re-excites the screen and comes right back towards you.
What we have to do is we just need to watch our movies off a reflected surface through a pinhole camera that's in the back of the room, so that we don't contaminate the screen. I'm being ridiculous.
Right? Yeah, we had reflective badges on too. I mean, everything in that room worked against what the projector could do.
Absolutely,
and it still looked amazing.
And the better the projector in this aspect, the worse and harder it becomes to obtain those numbers of what it's actually capable of doing.
True.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very good point, Alex. Much appreciated on the super chat. I love seeing you love seeing you at CEDIA, and I am so happy for what you've done with Christie, and hopefully they're here to stay.
Is this the guy that ruined you to make you buy the black
Yes.
Swan?
Yes. So you ruined me the first time, made me get the ULF 4000s, and then I go see Alex, and Alex is like, "Hey, come see these black swans and the 50." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't really like horns. I don't like this stuff." And I go in and then I rearrange my room.
Pulls out his wallet.
Yeah, it's just
not just rearrange, rebuild it from the ground up.
That was bad. That was very bad. Alex, we talk about that experience a lot. You were a bad influence, so hopefully I can repay that favor sometime and make you buy something. But Alex has an eclipse, so he walks the walk. He is very much.
Speaking of, was there a show discount available for the eclipse that you could bring one home?
You guys are bad. It doesn't fit in my room.
He does not. There's not enough space between the top of the 50 and the ceiling for it to fit.
I told you, I know a guy that has a jackhammer and is willing to travel.
I did contemplate putting it vertically behind the 50. There was an active contemplation in my head. Like, would it fit? And you're not the only one that actually asked me that. Alex asked me that too. I mean, he's like, "Hey, at some point you're going to get an eclipse. You're not a good friend to have right now.
You would be better off like jackhammering out underneath the 50, lowering it down maybe 6-8 inches, and then raising the ceiling above it."
Stop giving me ideas.
I mean, it can fit.
No,
I'm just saying. I'm saying it can fit.
We're done with this conversation.
It just can't fit right now.
No, we're moving on. This is done. So MW asked, "Ryan, when are you upgrading the surrounds to Halo 10s?" God, you guys are bad. No, I'm not.
There is not enough room. There's not enough space to fit the Halo 10s on the side of the room.
They didn't look as big as they are. They're not small. They're
I mean, it's bigger than a manhole cover.
They're whatever. They're designed for a different use case than the Black Swan. If you can't figure the Black Swan, the Halo. And the Halo has other applications. Like the Halo you could put in a room. It'd be cool art piece or something for speakers instead of, imagine if you put Halos behind the drywall.
I remember something
probably
about
not
a
the use
for not
case for them.
fitting either. And
I will say that forged carbon Black Swan is now worthy of being put in a room.
It is very pretty. What if we did 64s behind the drywall? Jeffrey, we may have a new use case. Can you imagine having like the seams of the drywall fit so tight, and then all of a sudden you turn it on and freak people out from the drywall doing this and moving?
Yeah, that would not work at all.
The drywall just fall down and crack over their head.
Yeah, you'll destroy the structure.
Why are you guys ruining my dreams? Why are you guys ruining that for me? Okay, moving on. We did those two. MW says, Ryan, your picture on top of the 64 subs was pretty epic. Did you guys see that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I guess that made it around.
You're looking like you trimmed down a little bit, Ryan.
I have come down. I don't know since when. I think since within the last year or two. I think I'm down 30 pounds or something. So
that's nice, man.
Been good. Yeah.
Been good.
Yeah. We're trying. I got about 15 more pounds to lose. I want to get down to 220. That's where I need to be.
6'5" and 220. You're gonna be
that's where I need to be. Yeah, ideally for that's where my body likes me. If I don't, I can feel different things, and it gets unhappy.
Bob and I feel different things all the time.
I don't think I've weighed 220 since I was 18.
Jonathan, you're a woman. Okay, so we need to be real about this. For anybody that doesn't know, in a previous episode, Jonathan, after he came back from vacation, had this rash on his leg that supposedly only happens to women. So it was
middle-aged, overweight women.
He is a woman.
They call the Disney rash.
That's why I'm giving him crap about being a woman. I'm not just making that up. There was something that happened for that. MW's other question says about Mad VR: is frame smoothing available on all Mad VR or only available with Motion AI? I'm not entirely sure what you mean. But if you mean, is Motion AI available on all of them? No, it's only available on the Extreme. If you mean in gaming mode, frame doubling is available on all of them. 8K is coming to the Core Mark II, which if you frame double, you decrease your frame times. So you are helping by doubling with VRR and stuff. So there are benefits. I think that's what you're asking. So frame doubling is available on all of them. Motion A is only available on the Extreme. Oh, variable refresh rate. No, it's available on anything with a HDMI 2.1 input card. You may need the Premiere Pack on the Core. I'm not sure. I'm not the sales guy. I'm the technical guy. But the HDMI 2.1 input card will be available on all of them. Strin Computer says, Jonathan, interested to hear all your thoughts on the Altitude CI.
I don't have much thoughts. Ask Bob. He was there that listened to it. I am curious if they got rid of the processing delay first and foremost, the little intro processing delay. Is that still there?
So the processing delay is better, not just on that unit, but with the upgrade.
Good.
The software upgrade. Supposedly they fixed a lot of that.
What are we talking about? Like gone or just minimum?
Nah, it'll never go away.
But that sync issue that you run into on a lot of those ones, that's an HDMI like resync, like handshake issue.
That
you can I'm talking about the Dolby Atmos lock,
right?
That takes like 5 to 7 seconds. But
but that's because they redo an HDMI handshake. You can eliminate that. When I had
but the Trinov's is longer.
Yes,
Trinov they've reduced it significantly.
But you can still eliminate that almost completely on the Trinov and the Storm if you run like a room in front of it and you lock your audio to a fixed carrier. I mean, when I was trying out the Trinov and the Storm, even on the Trinov, my audio came on 2 to 3 seconds before my video did, because the audio didn't have to renegotiate.
Witchcraft. That doesn't happen.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
it works great if you want to put something else in your signal chain.
But Jonathan, they did reduce it, and there are other ways that you can reduce it, but some of them are compromises away from the intended way to hear or watch something.
Oh, I guess there's another feature on the new turn-off version. It is supposedly going to allow you to use at least 24/192 inputs.
Oh, that's nice.
On that particular one. So right now with the Altitude 16, if you are running a 24/192 stream, so for example, if you're on Tidal listening to music and you hit a 24/192 track, it won't play it. And on Tidal, you can't like filter out your high res, so not like ultra high res versus just low level high res. So you run into issues where you can't play certain audio tracks. On the Altitude 32, you can play 24/192. Supposedly on this one, you can play 24/192. It'll just down convert. You do run into other issues with Dante and with AES where your other devices may control what your actual output rate is. So you may only actually be 48 hertz or 48K on your output because that's all those downstream devices can support. You can run slightly higher depending on the devices, but digital might wind up playing at a lower fidelity. Not that you may be able to hear it, but potentially lower fidelity due to your downstream digital devices than you would get out of the Altitude 32.
Miguel Munez, guys, please explain what is Dolby Vision 2. Just tuned in, not sure if you covered it. He asked this at the very beginning, and now we're at the very end.
3 hours later.
3 hours
Here you
later.
go.
So Miguel, I don't really know. All we know is what's in the press release. So you know as much as we know, effectively. They've just said, hey, we're going to provide support for variable refresh rates. We're going to do some stuff with AI. We don't really know the specifics yet, aside from it's coming.
Well.
Yeah, variable, like they're going to be able to change the frame rate mid-movie, mid-film, mid-content.
Do you know this? Is it all new gear, or can it be integrated?
No idea. No idea. I just know it was in the press release, and I don't think that was there. No clue. I don't know if it can be upgraded to or not. No idea. Good question. Hopefully we'll know more stuff soon. Tiki Time asks, did the HDMI booth have a demo on the 2.2 cable bandwidth? Dude, you are early. Did you go to the HDMI booth? Was there an HDMI booth?
There was an 8K Association booth that I didn't go into.
There's some stuff coming, maybe, but we're still very early. So maybe it was there, but I didn't hear anything about it. Come here. Up. Steve G. Hi, Jonathan. You can put my question last since it's not related to CEDIA. Good, I did. And I didn't do that intentionally, though. Last week, you said you had an OLED monitor for your PC. No burn-in problems?
I have no burn-in, and I've had this for, 2 or 3 years at this point? Zero burn-in.
I don't have any either.
And not only that, but I've disabled some of the burn-in protection features because I don't like the auto-dimming stuff. So I got a service remote and turned some of that stuff off.
Look at you.
And I still have no burn-in.
I borrowed that service remote. It really bothers.
Yes. Actually, my brother's borrowing it right now, but yes, absolutely. I'll bring it over.
So the only thing that I have a not very old. I have a B8. That's that one back there. It has some dead pixels like around the fringes. That's all it has. And that's because it's been abused through flight simming. But my monitors are great. Or my 42s that I use as monitors, they're fine.
Yeah. Like zero.
No problems. And Paul A. Yo, John. I guess he's talking to you. What do you think about the QSC GXD8 for some UM18s? Decent use price.
So QSC, like Crown, has a undefeatable, non-defeatable high-pass filter at 20 hertz on their DSP models. I don't honestly know. I'm going to look it up real quick if the GXD is a DSP model. I'm assuming it is, but I'm going to check real quick. It is. So yeah, that's confirmed on AVS Forum. I've never tested one of those, but on AVS Forum, the guys say it has a non-defeatable high-pass filter at 20 hertz. So not ideal for sealed sub usage, but perfectly fine for ported, as long as you're trying to port around 20 hertz or something.
And some of them don't have that, though. Most of them do, if I remember.
The ones with the digital DSP do, is what I've read on AVS Forum. And those are I had to refresh my memory. Those are fantastic amps, like that GXD
Yeah.
and the CXD. Those are fantastic, like very high end pro audio.
They're good
equipment.
amps. They're good amps. We've reached the end. Can't believe everything you read on AI. That's the new.
Yeah, I mean, Grok. I'm just reading that. There's a thread that I created on this very topic on AVS forum, and I was asking, do QSC amps have that high pass filter? And I had some technical people confirm that they do. So I don't. I can link you that thread, or you can Google search it. You'll find it. Just find Archaea QSC HPF. You'll find it. And then take that with a grain of sand because it's not first party testing. I haven't done it, but
they usually
people
say in their spec sheets what the frequency response range is. Usually it's
it's
like 20,
real hard to get that because a lot of times they'll just quote 20 hertz.
Yeah.
They'll just quote 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, and they won't quote below or above that, even if it's capable.
Okay. DSP functions on the the GDX8 on their site says high pass filter, fourth order Linkwitz Riley, adjustable in frequency from 20 hertz to 4K.
Yeah, I mean that they just don't. They're not.
Doesn't say if you can turn it off, but it does say that the minimum you can set that high pass filter for is 20 hertz.
So I think what Jonathan's saying though is that they don't always give you all of the information of if there's an undefeatable, because that filter is potentially there to protect the amp. Because if it gets down too far,
drivers
and
protect the speakers, because a lot of those pro audio drivers are not meant to be doing that.
And all this stuff, but it's there because it's protecting something. So they won't necessarily, I guess, expose if it's there. A lot of the pro amps do have it though.
I mean, even like not even just pro, but even just like boutiques type stuff. A lot of times they'll just quote 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, or even higher than that. Oddly enough, hey, we go to 40,000 hertz or whatever. But there's very little spec sheet stuff besides going to like ASR where they'll talk about what's rolling off below 20 hertz. And on ASR's things, case in point, you can see the crowns roll off below 20 hertz with the DSP. You can see it on any of the reviews. Last time I checked on ASR, I don't think they had much in the way of QSC reviews, but it's not hard to tell if you have a oscilloscope on it.
Okay. We are done. 3 hours later. And I said at the beginning of this, I don't think this will be a long stream. Yeah, okay. That was not the case. Thelma left?
She's knocking on the door over there, ringing her bell. She wants to go outside.
Okay. Well, I'll wrap it up. So, well, thanks for having us. Bob, thanks for going through everything. If you guys have any questions or need any gear, feel free to email me at info@ascendav.net. And I'm always happy to just answer questions, even if you don't buy anything. I'm not pushy or anything like that. When do we want to stream again? Do we want to try for Friday?
Are we going to watch the Star Wars Superman thing that you mentioned?
Yeah, I'm down.
I'd like to do that. That'd be fun. I still haven't seen it.
I haven't either.
I saw 5 minutes of it with the super whistle, and it was not.
Well, I can do Wednesday for that, and then we can stream Friday if we watch it. If not, we'll watch it. We have no idea when we're going to stream, so just ignore what I'm saying. That we have no idea when that's going to happen. We're going to try and figure out when we're going to watch Superman, and then hopefully stream afterwards. And if we don't watch Superman, then we'll just stream and not have watched Superman. So I guess we're going to find out what happens. I did watch 28 Years Later today, and it was great.
Is it?
Jonathan would not have liked it because there's a lot of zombie penises.
And Ryan liked it especially.
I did. It didn't bother me. But anyway, let's try and figure out when we're going to watch Superman. We're going to stream at some point this weekend. And Bob, thanks again for giving us the CEDIA rundown. Always great. And we'll go from there. Stay safe out there. You guys have anything closing up?
Not for me.
Nope. All right.
Thanks, Bob.
We will catch you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there.